15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, it's just awful to see. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Last night's game, Buffalo wins in Miami, but that really is not the story, Perloff. Obviously, the injury to Tua Tagovailoa, he leaves the game in the third quarter after scrambling for a first down on fourth down, where he was having a terrible game. And you can understand why he was trying to press, why he was trying to fight for every yard. He had thrown 3 interceptions. They had gotten stopped on a big fourth down. The Bills scored on all of those turnovers. So I'm sure he's feeling terribly and feeling like he needs to try to maybe single-handedly get his team back in the game. So he lowers his head right into Damar Hamlin, of all people, who also has had this sort of near-death experience on a primetime game. And Tua again falls to the ground. The fencer's position that we know now with the hands up in the air, clearly diagnosed with a concussion within minutes. And now I think his football future is squarely in jeopardy.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's interesting too, Maggie. I feel like we forget how quickly this can happen. We almost lull ourselves into a sense of comfort around the sport, and you forget you're one random play away from that happening again. Obviously, this was 2 years ago. Tua went through all of last season relatively healthy. Yeah. So I, it happened, and of course, I'm not surprised that it happened, but I just, in a way, convinced myself, okay, Tua is going to be okay. And we're going to have Chris Nowinski on, our friend who's an expert in concussions.
Yep.
You just forget how easy it is in football. It can be a random play. It doesn't have to be a huge dynamic hit. It can be just a normal fourth down. You're right. Who's trying to make a play. It wasn't a gigantic bang, bang. I feel he ran into Damar Hamlin and his neck just went the wrong way. Yeah. And boom, we're right back to where we were in 2022.
Yeah, and I really, it bothers me a little bit, and we'll get to Tua's future, but it bothers me that it's being reported as this is his third concussion. That's not true. We saw the first one, at least that we know of in 2022, again against the Buffalo Bills, the Matt Milano hit where Tua gets up and then literally falls to the ground, stumbles to the ground. He gets checked out. They say it's a back issue, and he gets sent back into the game, and they're not counting that. Meanwhile, the NFLPA fired the independent neurologist or whatever after that because he allowed Tua to go back into the game. Then we get the scary moment in Cincinnati where he's carted off the field. Then we get the Packer game that forced him to miss the last 2 games of the season, including the playoffs. So spare me with the 3 concussions. Clearly had a head injury in that first game with the Milano hit. So we're talking about 4 now. And listen, you and I have a different vantage point on this. We can say you should not play football again. That's obviously for him. But when you have former players coming out and saying you should think about life after football, I think that matters. You don't see a lot of players who are coming out and saying, shake it off and get back out there. You're seeing guys like Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco and others who are saying, and Damian Woody last night in the postgame show on ESPN saying, it's not worth it. You have your whole life. And I know he's just signed this big contract and the money and proving it to people and all of that. You've proven it. You made it to the NFL. They gave you the big contract. They believed in you. You had your rookie deal. That's $20+ million. This is not, if you play your cards right, that should be enough to get you through a lifetime. So, Pearl, I think, again, it's easy for you and I to say step away or what have you, but I think when former players are saying it, really take a hard look. Don't you have to take that into consideration?
Well, I'd honestly want to listen to the top medical expert on this first before former players, because I'm not sure they know exactly the repercussions of playing and the risk. They seem pretty high. I mean, you can't ignore the money, though, Maggie. I mean, it's an incredible amount of money.
No, I know.
Which I think
and
he already has some money, but you have to understand, for quarterbacks, like you're going to weigh that in this calculation. There's just no way. It's what is it, 200 something
$200 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a ton of money. It's hard to walk away. You might say, yes, I risk something. That's the thing. You have to sit down with the doctor and say, what are the risks of me playing? Am I going to be able to function cognitively if I keep playing? Do I want to risk that? I think it's not as simple. I think Tua is going to be Tua's going to want to play again. We just know that. I mean, it doesn't matter what Shannon Sharp says. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Unless a doctor totally shuts him down, he's going to want to play again. I mean, he did talk about retirement, remember, after 2022.
Yeah, he did. He said he
contemplated it. He considered it. So it's in that air, but this contract is probably going to weigh into his decision, just humanly.
I guess here's the question, and we'll hear from Mike McDaniel in a second, giving the update on Tua last night. Should it be his decision? Like, this is one of those things where, it's your personal freedom, right?
Yeah.
Or if a doctor is saying you're cleared now, but what's going to happen? Like we saw in 2022, how quickly did this escalate? He got hit 1 week. He actually played the next week. Then he's carted off on a stretcher. Then at the end of the season, he's missing games because his head hits the turf in Green Bay. Like, we've seen this before. If you think this is his last concussion, wouldn't you be naive? So how many of these is he going to rack up? I mean, I think that didn't we learn so much from the guys of the 70s and 80s and even the 90s about, how the repeated concussions really are that's the part of it that just really kind of scrambles your brain a little bit. Yeah,
it's a great question. I remember some of my favorite players were Philadelphia Eagles from the 90s, and they're dead now because some of the after effects, like suicide and all sorts of terrible problems happened. I have a question too, and we have Chris Nowinski later. Like, is medical technology help with any of this? Is there any treatment for concussions? I don't think there is really.
So you remember the Guardian caps that they're wearing?
I was actually thinking about.
Just wear that.
I don't understand. So, well, I mean, that's not a foolproof thing, but that should help. He does not wear a Guardian cap, right?
No, but he has a special helmet that he wears, and it's a different kind of helmet. It's supposed to give him a little bit more protection. I mean, I don't know. This stuff kind of feels like. I don't know how effective it is, but the Guardian cap, maybe he just wears it. And if you really care, like, who cares how you look? If you can get out there and play.
He does
care. Who cares about the vanity of it?
I was thinking a lot about this off-season narrative, too, that he lost weight. Last year, he put on weight, and it worked. He wanted to be faster this year and make plays.
Yeah.
That, now you think about it, that's a really bad plan. Like, if that is part of the reason that he was more vulnerable here, last year he looked stocky and he looked like he had a lot of neck support. This year he does look thin, and if that's a plan, that was a bad plan. Like, if it was working health-wise, man, I think he will regret that.
Let's hear from head coach Mike McDaniel. He was asked first about Tua going on IR after he was diagnosed with a concussion.
The furthest thing from my mind is, what is the timeline? I want to know. We just need to evaluate, and I'm just worried about my teammate, and like the rest of the guys are.
That's fair. Mike McDaniel also being asked about Tua's future.
For me to go ahead and forecast things that I don't know in my non-field of expertise, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying the right thing there. They don't know. They don't know anything. Yeah. Skylar Thompson comes in, and he was ineffective. The game was out of reach at that point. I mean, it had just been a terrible game for Tua. And Miami in general, they were getting absolutely smoked. And again, you can understand why he would want to try to make a play. And to be honest, if he gets that first down and somehow they get back in the game, I bet you and I come in and we're like, wow, look at Tua selling out, trying to make something happen, trying to make up for the bad plays from before. One of the interceptions wasn't his fault. It was a weird ricochet, but the other two were pretty bad.
Well, the shame about that play is he didn't need to run into DeMar Hamlin. I'm not sure he knew where the first down. He was already past the first down line. He could have slid or gone down. It was a completely unnecessary.
But it was fourth down. So I think you're always worried you're going to slide and they're going to do the replay, and it's like your right butt cheek was before the first down line, and now all of a sudden.
Right, but he definitely could have gone down in a different way. Like, he really tried to ram into. I don't think he didn't know he was past the first down line. He was 2 yards past.
Yeah.
He easily could have gone down, but he was trying to make that play again, it's a shame because it was totally unnecessary. He could have gotten out of that. By the way, he should know better than to try and make that kind of play too.
I know, but see, that's
I
the
see a lot of
thing.
quarterbacks doing this now. Lamar Jackson he ran into some guys.
Oh,
last
I know.
week.
Guys are going head first.
Well, also quarterbacks are trying to make. I've seen this around the league. Like quarterbacks are like running into safeties and being like flexing over them. I'm like, and Lamar Jackson did it. I think in week 1 on the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you think's going to happen? The more hits you take, the more likely you are to be injured. So I feel like maybe Tua is a wake up call for the rest of the NFL. Like minimize the amount. Quarterbacks are particularly vulnerable. They're not built like running backs.
Yeah.
To take that kind of punishment. And you see guys like, I honestly think your guy, Josh Allen, last night he didn't have to run because the game was out of control, but I feel like he's way too aggressive running too. Maybe this will be a wake-up call. Hey, just throw it out of bounds. I don't need this 6-yard gain.
Yeah, Pat, what did you say? Jaden Daniels, right?
Yeah, he needs another one that needs to learn how to slide.
Yeah.
He can't slide at all. He's going to kill himself if he tries to slide because he's completely awkward. He does this log roll at the end of every run. It's hard.
You know, the funny thing is, though, I find that yes, you want the guys to slide, but I understand what Tua was doing. You can't lower your head like that, obviously. That's never a good sign. But I get what he was doing. He's having a terrible game. You know, he just signed this $53 million contract. They escaped the win over Jacksonville. It's been an emotional week, okay? All the Tyreek Hill stuff. And to be honest, I think the Dolphins put too much pressure on this game. It was all about how Josh Allen owns the Dolphins and all about his record, and it's 13-1 since 2018, and the Bills, and they're your daddy, and all that stuff. And I feel like this game got bigger than it actually needs to be. Let's talk about it. It's week 2. It's week 2, and you won week 1. So, like, to me, this felt like from the Miami side, the rhetoric was like this: we've got to prove that we can beat Josh Allen and we can beat the Bills in Miami. Because they're looking at last year, week 18, they lost that game and they lost the AFC East. And I think there was too much built up on this game. And then Tua goes out and stinks. So now you're at a 4th and 4 with plenty of time left to get yourself back in the game. And he's selling out to get a first down. Like, I can't come on the air today in good conscience and criticize him for that. Like, oh, you should have been protecting yourself. We know that now because of the horrible thing that happened. But in the moment, I'm like, Tua's doing he's selling out to try to get his team back in the game. That's an admirable quality that we usually ascribe to players. But
I kind of disagree about one thing. Like, this is maybe the most important game of this because last year they lost by a hair, the division.
Yep. Tua threw a bad pick, and that was, again, he threw a pick, and it sealed the win for Buffalo, and they lost the AFC East and had to go to Kansas City.
Right. I mean, if they're going to win this division, they have to win their home game against the Bills. So this is you're saying it's not an important game, but it's not like a division like week 1 against Tennessee. Who cares? But this, I'm sorry, against Jacksonville. Yeah. I keep on confusing Tennessee and Jacksonville. Anyway, this was as important a game. They're not going to have a more important game on their schedule, are they?
Well, I mean, yeah, because who knows what the Jets are going to be. I mean, this could be a 3-horse race here in the AFC East.
No, it's not. Saying, it was not going to be a 3-horse race. Well, I mean, Miami looked terrible week 1. You have to remember that too. They did not look good, and their players it's the same story as last year. Forget Tua. Like, their great players are old and coming on and off the field and feels like they're always like ankle injuries everywhere. Teron Armstead with some weird harness can't play an entire series in a row. I don't think they're in this race. And now with Tua,
they're definitely going to be behind the 8 ball.
But you could see, even say Tua was healthy, like they're a class below Buffalo.
Well, I hesitate to say that because the skill position and the weapons are still great. When you have Waddle and you have Tyreek Hill and you have Devon Achane, those guys are dogs. Like, not to steal from McAfee or whatever, but that's what they are. They're really great players. And if you get into shootouts, you know, you probably feel comfortable that you could hold your own. You're right. The defense was
in September and October. Yeah, but you're not. This is not. They're brittle. Look at last year. They have a lot of big names on defense. They have a lot of big contracts on defense. Those guys aren't going to be on the field by the end of the year.
I know, but see, that they talked about that a little in the broadcast. Obviously, we're talking about the Dolphins and Bills game last night where Tua leaves the game in the 3rd quarter with a concussion. Now his future maybe in jeopardy, but the idea that he was selling out on that play, to be critical of him today, I think is disingenuous. And then because he's doing something we generally admire about quarterbacks. And
No. We do not. We do. We always sit. We don't admire a quarterback for doing that.
Going for it on a 4th down when you've had an awful game. You just said this could be the most important game of their season. He's trying to make up for all the bad mistakes that he's made prior.
Every time Lamar or any mobile quarterback runs into a guy, and we always say that's stupid. We're evolved enough as a football nation to know what quarterbacks take on. everybody criticizes Josh Allen. My 12-year-old daughter doesn't watch NFL, and she says Josh Allen runs too much. Honestly, like, we know, we're savvy enough to know quarterbacks should not be they should not run into the guy like that.
Okay,
we say that all the time.
But how bad would Tua be getting roasted today if he, you already saw the team lacking confidence in him when before the end of the half, when you have 8 seconds left to go and it's third down and you're in the red zone and they decide to kick the field goal. They didn't even let Tua take another shot at the end zone there. That's got to do something to a quarterback's psyche. You know what that is. That's, oh my gosh, my team just gave up on me. We're trailing. We have 8 seconds left. Yeah, you have no timeouts, but you can take a shot at the end zone and still have time to get your field goal unit out to kick a chip shot. Not
the way last night was going. I actually thought, I saw you tweet about that. If they had tried to run another play the way that drive was going, they definitely would not have gotten any points.
You've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Take a shot at the end zone. I mean, come on. It's not like you've got plotting dudes out there who can't, run
plotting dudes. That's the problem. They're great, and Buffalo was brilliant last night. The way that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle score is if they're at their own 30 and they get a 70-yard runway to run by everybody.
Yeah,
when Buffalo could sort of pack the field in the red zone, and the announcers were all over this, then Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are completely neutralized. You can't use your speed when you're only able to run 10 yards.
I just think that you saw a team that had sort of given up. Like, Tua's got to be understanding this looks like you don't have confidence in me if you're kicking that field goal on third down when there's plenty of time for me to get a playoff in another play. Plenty of time. For a professional NFL quarterback who's making $50 million a year, you've got to be able to get a playoff with 8 seconds left to still leave 2 seconds left on the clock to possibly kick the field goal. So you have all this stuff stacked up on top of each other. You're calling it the most important game on their schedule. He's playing like garbage. And so at 4th and 4, when you're that close, you're going to get a 1st and goal at the 4. I think we do praise these guys for selling out like that. I think it looks like, man, he kept us alive. And if they score there and maybe they get a turnover, Josh Allen's always good for one a game usually. Then you get a turnover, then maybe the whole game flips, and now we're talking about Miami's right back in it. I
don't know. Maybe I'm
EJ,
different. No, like quarterback. We do not praise quarterbacks for being tough guys. Like if anybody who does is making a mistake for this very reason. I'm sorry, EJ, you were going to say?
Yeah, no, I think you got to coach the game that you're in, right? So a normal game where you're not having terrible turnovers, your receivers know what routes to run, and they're not leaving Tua out to dry. Your offensive line can actually block. You don't have your tackles hurt. Yeah, maybe in a normal game, you say, let's take a shot at the end zone. In that situation where you're just in survival mode at that point, like you're getting boat raced in your own home, your team doesn't seem to know the plays, Tua is rattled, they're not being able to protect him, and at that point, you got to take those points. You got to say, hey, we got to get the guarantee points. Let's get to the locker room and let's figure this thing out. Because if you go out there and you have a disastrous play, because we saw third quarter, anything was on the table for what the Dolphins may do, including Tua being weak, not having the strongest arm, you throw the ball out of bounds and it becomes a pick six. It's one of those things where you don't want this bad thing to snowball. You finally got a drive that was halfway decent. Just take the points. You have no timeouts. You can't afford to take a sack. I think Mike McDaniel in that situation, he coached a terrible game. But you got to coach the game that you're in. Your team is in a complete tailspin. You have points that are there for you and a risk. If you try to run another play, you have to take those points.
Oh, man. I thought it sent a bad message.
I agree with DJ. You have Robbie Chosen on the field.
Oh, man, he was awful.
You send that field goal kicker out.
He was so bad.
The second interception was so clearly on Robbie Chosen running to the wrong place or slipping. I might give him and even the first interception was on the receiver too. Basically, the Bills had, obviously, I didn't realize it, you have Tyreek Hill and you have Jalen Waddle, but then you got nobody. You are really thin at third receiver. So I agree. They were a mess. Their offensive line was struggling big time. They were great between the 20s. They were moving the ball like crazy. They had a lot of yards last night. They were running the ball really well.
Do that bend, don't break.
Yeah, but and Tua was super accurate. I mean, Tua, by the way, except for the interceptions, had a really accurate night. But there was no way line. He was not good in the end zone. I mean, they had no chance in the red zone. Tyreek Hill can't run past somebody when the end zone's right there. You say that you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you got to take a shot. That's exactly why you don't take a shot. That's not their bread and butter.
Pat, are you with me or are you with them?
I'm with you. I mean, I think the bloom is off the rose here on Mike McDaniel. I mean, was he stoned coaching this game last night? That last drive of that first half, we're talking about taking the points. I mean, they basically took every second they could just to get into the red zone.
Yeah.
Zero urgency whatsoever. And then even when Tua comes out of the game and the game, it's now or never, Skylar Thompson's in the game, 3rd and goal, and he goal line fade with Braxton Berrios?
Oh, well,
what are we doing with the play calling? On a short week, Buffalo's going to simplify the defense, and like you said, they're going to go with the bend, don't break, 2 high safety, not let you beat them. All right, well, scheme up some plays to get Tyreek Hill the ball. Scheme up some plays to get Jalen Waddle the ball. I mean, totally lack of imagination with the play calling, uncreative, flat out boring, and they looked unprepared.
Well, I think they wanted to run all over Buffalo. I think they found a formula. And that, by the way, and we say that, like if Tua doesn't make those mistakes, my vibe in the first half was like, oh, Miami's kind of moving the ball on Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo's middle linebacker went out in the first quarter.
Yeah,
their linebacker depth is bad.
Right, I think that game could have gone differently. Honestly, there was like...
If not for the interceptions.
Yeah, if not for the interceptions, I don't feel like it was such a lopsided game. I totally understand what you're saying, Pat, but like... I just think the Dolphins are a limited team right now with only 2 guys. Like I always say, every time I'm watching the Dolphins, I'm like, just put everybody you have on Tyreek Hill. Just let somebody else beat you, and that's what happened last night.
I think the question maybe for X today at Maggie and Pearl, should Tua play again? 855-212-4227. It was another scary concussion, like there's any other kind. But this one was bad. I think everyone collectively was holding their breath. But he was able to walk off the field. 855-212-4227. Then, let's talk about Mike McDaniel. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Talk about the game we saw last night. So much to get to. We've got a lot of trash talk this morning, a little bit more than I thought we were going to have.
What do you mean?
I'll let you know in a moment. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. We're talking about Tua Tagovailoa's concussion last night. Got hit against the Bills, went into the different fencer's pose, but you could tell something was wrong immediately diagnosed as a concussion. We're saying, Maggie, you had a great point. This is his fourth known concussion, even though some reporters have third. Some people do say fourth. I mean, it is commonly known that it's his fourth concussion. So the question is, will he continue to play football? I also saw on social media last night, a lot of people are saying, why isn't he wearing a Guardian cap? So that's it. If he does come back and he's not wearing that Guardian cap, that would be strange.
Yeah, I mean, but again, this is like the hindsight because he stayed healthy all of last year as far as we know, right?
Yeah, it's hindsight, but like I don't completely understand why all the players aren't wearing Guardian caps. But you see it, they have that little mesh thing over the cap. It looks weird. But if you have one brain in your life, I'm curious why more players don't go in that way. I know the numbers they're not stunningly more safe. You can still get concussions, but they are more safe.
Yeah, the one dude from the Colts is wearing one, right?
I think there are a bunch of guys wearing them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see a lot of the mesh thing over the top. I think there's a big percentage.
Sorry, let's go to the phones, 855-212-4227. We're asking you today, should Tua retire? After all these concussions, we're watching it on TV. It is just horrific. Josh is in Erie, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Josh.
Morning. So I have this thought. The owners need every ounce of goodwill. The NFLPA needs to be protecting their players and members. Why don't they all come to the table and agree that there should be provisions in the contract for if someone retires due to a TBI or a concussion, that they have some money set aside for that?
Yeah, Josh, it's a great thought. You do get money for you get guaranteed for injury money. So that does exist in NFL contracts. Such a brutal sport. You have to have some kind of protections for the players, and concussions would definitely fall under that.
So, but wouldn't it be a really good PR for both sides to have that on addition to the injury side?
Yeah, I mean, Josh, you're not wrong. I mean, the NFL, it's funny, they could use good PR, but it's not hurting the bottom line on this league. Sheesh. I mean,
what do they care about PR?
Growing up.
They got Taylor Swift. They do not need good PR.
They have Taylor Swift. But there are injury guarantees. So, like, if Tua did have to retire for concussions, he's still walking away with a lot of money. Is it the full $212? No, but he's going to have plenty to live on. Joe's in Sacramento. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Maggie, Perloff. How you guys doing?
We're good. What's up?
Oh, not much. Just driving to work. I'm just tying into the conversation, but with the Guardian cap, what? I don't understand why Tua doesn't have one on. There's a couple guys in the league that just should be wearing them, and looked like he took a shot. Maybe it went to the neck, but still, with his history, I just feel for the guy, and I don't understand why he's not using that to protect himself.
Joe, and get to work safely, and thanks for checking in. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Tua is going to come back. Maybe they make that a condition of his comeback, or maybe they think it makes everyone feel a little bit better if he's wearing it. Maybe he becomes a pioneer there. Maybe more guys start to wear them if a well-established star quarterback is wearing one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There are only 5 players wore week 1. I thought there were more. Jabril Peppers, I know, got some attention for wearing one. Think about it, if you're an NFL safety, I mean, come on. That is one position where you are running up and making contact with people. The irony was that it was Damar Hamlin last night who sort of, he didn't really make the hit. Actually, Tua ran into him. It was just a bad angle. I think it was, but that's the thing with football.
Tua lowered his head.
Yeah, Tua lowered it. Yeah, of course. I would definitely. Tua has to wear it. I think people, if he does come back and is not wearing that Guardian cap, I think he'll get criticism for that, and rightfully so.
Yeah, the question is the Guardian cap's not foolproof though. So the idea that he would come back and I think at this point you almost have to expect he's going to get another concussion. If he's on the field, I think it's fair to say you got to expect it. Sure, could we get a miracle and he never gets another one again? Well, we kind of thought that we were on that train and on those tracks last year when he stayed healthy for the full 17 games, and it was temporary. Again, you're welcome to weigh in on X at Maggie and Pearl. Should Tua play again?
One thing about the Guardian caps, I'm reading this. Apparently, it adds a lot of heat to your helmet, too. And last night, that's one of the sweatiest football games I've ever seen in my life.
Felt bad for the halftime show. I was like, why are you guys all wearing suits? Oh, my, except for Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course. Looks like he's at the Golden Nugget at a $5 table.
I felt bad for the Bills beat writers. Can you imagine being in Miami in early September instead of being there in mid-December?
Well, I actually...
Not used to the heat.
Mike McDaniel was sweating up a storm. I felt like Sean McDermott was kind of not sweating as much. Is he a cooler customer, Maggie? Your Bills coach?
No, but for some reason, Mike McDaniel wears a sweatshirt to every game.
A hoodie.
Yeah,
what was that?
I don't know. He's got something. If you notice when the weather gets colder, he also won't wear a jacket now. He's got or he did in the Kansas City game because that was just for safety. But he's got a weird thing about that.
By the way, it's a pretty good 2-game run there for your guy Sean McDermott. I feel like remember you were wondering about his future last year.
Yeah, I would push him out of the way for Harbaugh tomorrow, but he's doing a really good job
with the
defense.
I feel like one team was better coached than the other last night.
Well, no doubt. I mean, that's the other thing too. It's the Bills own the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been churning through head coaches since this. The Bills have a level of stability here that the Dolphins have not enjoyed.
Stability now that they're 2-0, being on a treadmill of mediocrity in the playoffs was what you said last year.
I did say that.
So it's it's like Mike Tomlin. Is it stability or is it the same old, same old?
Well, but the other thing, the Dolphins have been also cycling through coordinators. I mean, they can't keep an offensive or defense coordinator in the building. That's secondary to what's going on with Tua. Andrew Bogish is here with headlines this morning.
Guys, good morning. If only it was just a bad game for Tua.
Tua in the shotgun with Wilson to his right. Takes the snap, back to pass. Looking over the middle, pressure coming. Has to heave it, and it's intercepted. Coming the other way, and going for 6 is Jamarcus Ingram. A 30-yard interception return for a touchdown. Tua's 3rd pick of the night.
That's from Bills Radio. Tua's 3 picks fueling a 31-10 Bills rout, but none of that matters with Tua dealing again with a concussion. It's too early to know anything about the next time he plays, so it's Skylar Thompson's job indefinitely.
I'm confident, though. I feel like I'm ready for whatever's to come, and I'm going to prepare and work hard and do everything I can to lead this team and do my job.
The Bills quarterback started the night with his left hand in a glove. Josh Allen left the field flexing that hand towards the many Bills fans that were in Miami as a sign that he's okay. Allen threw for 139 yards and a score to James Cook, who also ran for 2. Their Bills are now 2-0 this season. They've won 14 of the last 16 meetings with the Fins.
Are we ready to admit that the Bills are better without Stephon Diggs? Anyone else going there with me?
They almost lost to the Cardinals at home last week.
Yeah, but not because of their offense. I see 30-point game. I don't know. They do not miss that guy. I think that's very clear.
Can the guy touch the ball last night?
No. That was not the plan.
Maggie, you stood here and said they should run the ball all the time. You said it last year, and now they do it.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to complain because you advised them. In fact, I think you made a call.
I did.
And they are exactly who they should be right now.
Yeah.
They are definitely better without Diggs.
This is just like it was working last night, so you're just going to go with it. Like they couldn't.
Yeah, it worked the whole second half of last year too. I mean, when they sort of put Diggs to the side, they're clearly a more versatile offense.
Look, in some ways, they're kind of like doing not this year's Kansas City Chiefs because they added Xavier Worthy and he could end up being their next Tyreek Hill, possibly. But they're kind of just doing what the Chiefs do. They just don't have Kelsey. But they're kind of doing the same thing. Like, let's spread this out with all different types of receivers. Let's do the run game. I mean, James Cook and Isaiah Pacheco don't run the same way, but they're kind of.
I mean, Cook, they're both very fast. I think
they're
Cook,
like 2 steps behind the Chiefs in everything they do.
Cook's numbers are tremendous. I mean,
I know. It's amazing they actually gave him the ball at the goal line. Usually he'll take the ball, he'll like have 6 carries on a drive, and then they'll give it to the 5th running back on the depth chart for the goal line carry. It's like they're testing him to see if he's going to break or something. He's just going to snap and lose it.
Well, more often too, it's Josh Allen. I mean, the fact that I was shocked that fantasy owners are obsessed with Josh Allen running every time in the red zone. I was actually impressed. I'm like, oh my God, he handed the ball off.
Yeah, it's only
What's going
because
on?
his left hand is probably about to fall off. What else we got?
Tony Busby, the lawyer representing Deshaun Watson's latest accuser, says she wants to meet with NFL investigators, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. He says they have a video the league should see, as well as 2 witnesses. A civil suit filed Monday says Watson sexually assaulted the woman in her Houston apartment before a dinner date in October 2020. Russell Wilson said yesterday he is getting, quote, closer and closer to returning from his calf injury, but Justin Fields still in line to start Sunday in Denver. They're going to win the NL Central, be in the postseason. So let me introduce you now to 20-year-old Brewers center fielder Jackson Chourio.
Pitch to Chourio, fly ball right field. Back goes Yastrzemski, staring and gone! Jackson Chourio, liftoff, a 2-run home run, and he's 20-20 at the age of 20.
Fast forward to a month from now, coming in off a Brewer playoff game that Perloff accidentally watched and goes, how come nobody mentioned Jackson Chourio before? That was Jeff Levering on Brewers Radio. Chourio's the youngest ever with a 2020 season thanks to that 2-run homer in San Francisco. The 3-0 win drops the Brewers' magic number for the division to 7. The Guardians took a 5-2 loss from the Rays, dropping their AL Central lead to 4 games on the Royals. The New York Liberty cruising through Dallas, 99-67. Their magic number for the 1 seed in the WNBA postseason is now 2. And finally, French soccer club PSG ordered to pay Kylian Mbappe $61 million in unpaid salary and bonuses. The team issuing this statement yesterday.
I'll not pay this fine I've incurred. It's unjust.
It's not paying anything for real for now, saying it'll pursue further legal action in this ugly divorce.
A lot of money to pay a guy who didn't win a damn thing, basically. All with him.
Mbappe now plays for Real Madrid. No, I mean, contracts are contracts. If he's owed money, he's owed money. You kind of have to pay whether you win or not.
Yeah, he's probably the most overrated player I've seen in the sport in the last 15 years.
Oh, give me a break.
I thought he's one of the best players.
He is.
Yeah, he won the World Cup, and since then hasn't done squat.
I mean,
wait a minute.
That's not
they won
nothing.
How many goals did he score in the last World Cup final?
I don't know. Not enough.
3? 2, 3? Come on, Pat. Give me a break.
Not more than Messi.
I can't believe it. I didn't think I'd be arguing soccer with you this morning. Come on.
on a club level, the
Guys,
guy
I'm
has done
sorry.
nothing.
It's a football Friday, but not that kind of football. 855-212-4227. We owe it to the audience to move back to our kind of football.
Were you talking about the Brewers a minute ago? I'm totally lost. There it is. My Brewers.
Yes.
Morning, guys.
When Perloff comes in with the Cheerio
Did you say something about
jersey,
this?
hat.
Somebody's buying churros for breakfast?
Honey
Is
Nut
that what's
Cheerios?
happening?
Yeah.
Oh, we are getting breakfast today because it was actually a very long night for Perloff and myself.
Are you guys hungover?
No,
I
we
think
don't
it's
drink.
a lot
He
longer
doesn't.
for Maggie. I'm getting the sense that you got home a little later than I did because you.
Can I tell you my harrowing ride home last night?
Wait, really?
Yes.
I did not
I gotta
hear
save it for you because we gotta go to break. Exactly. Last night's ride home from where we were at this party last night probably took 2 years off my life.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you about it next. Yeah. And we've got football, too. Major trash talk happening with Colorado State. We'll get to that. 855-212-4227 if you want to weigh in on Tua and the Dolphins.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Robust conversation about whether Sydney Sweeney is what did you say? A good hang?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure that's what everyone's into Sydney Sweeney for. She's a good hang.
I mean, it's Maggie. Listen, some of us need more than just physical attraction. Okay,
Who? The guys in this room? Not you do.
Not me.
I'm sorry, you 5.
This is sports talk radio,
AJ.
not political talk radio. We're not supposed to hold back in the fact that we all love Sydney Sweeney. I'm sorry.
I love her too.
That's just a fact.
Yeah. I might be a one-issue voter, but I'm not a one-issue dater.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie and pretend that I'm not with the rest of every other
I'm with
red-blooded
you
American
guys.
male.
I'd sell my child to look like her for 5 minutes.
Well, I was a cute cart girl at a golf course in high school. Not as cute as her, though.
If you were, you wouldn't be sitting here with us.
Not even a little bit.
Let's talk about Tua, and then I'll get to my harrowing ride home from a party that Perloff and I were at last night. D's in Portland. D, is Tua going to play again?
I don't. He is. He just signed a $200+ million contract, and when you sign that much money, and he's just thinking about how to take care of his kids. Generational wealth, where they never have to work. So I just can't see him just saying, nope, here's most of the money back. I'm done. Plus, he loves the game, so there's no way. Also, one more thing. I also appreciate you guys always being on, and I hope you guys make it big because I really like listening to you guys in the mornings and then in the afternoons as well. Thank you again.
Thank you. Oh, sometimes, Perloff, I forget they replay our show in the afternoon in Portland.
Yeah, by the way, does Dee know something we don't know? What do you mean? I hope you guys make it big.
Isn't big?
Yeah, like
We're superstars, so I don't know what you're talking about, Dee. No, thank you for the compliment. No, you can always be bigger. He's right about, so I think that Tua, if he plays his cards correctly and doesn't start investing in like restaurants and Bitcoin, like he should have enough
furniture.
He should have enough to live on. He's not going to have to give enough of that back where he's going to have millions upon millions of dollars to live on.
Yeah, I think the economic incentive to go back out there is gigantic. Even with, say, that $42 million signing bonus check he just got, if there's another $150 million, like that's every reason to go out there. Remember when the concussion thing was at its peak, and there are a lot of experts who said, like opinion columnists who said people are not going to want to play in the NFL anymore. It's going to water down the sport. But I'm like, I just watched Hard Knocks, and a guy cried because he got cut.
Yeah.
Like that, I thought that was insane to think that people are not going to want to play football. People are dying to play NFL football. They're dying to make their careers go longer. That's all they want.
Yeah, I think where the big change is I think a lot of parents maybe are holding their kids out of football until high school.
I mean, I can confirm that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I don't have I can't give you a percentage drop, but I've talked to more parents, my 10-year-old son's age group, that either stopped playing football or didn't let their son sign up in the first place.
But do you worry that there's going to be a lack of supply of good players? To me, that's ridiculous.
No, because I think you can start your sophomore year, your freshman or sophomore year of high school, and you can still make it. We see stories like that all the time where it's like, he didn't even play high school. He played baseball or whatever. He didn't play football in high school.
I think there's
in
also
high school.
I think there's also a regional difference. I think where
That's
the
true.
players are coming from in Florida and Texas might not view it the same
California,
way.
right.
Yeah, I think I'll bet you youth football in Texas is jamming right now. I just think that I think people were also talking about Tua's going to be a great case. I mean, that's a lot of money on the table. I think they know the risk, and he should walk away, of course. But I'd be surprised. I think it's really, really hard to walk away, even if you have money in the bank.
I mean, the other part, too, is his age. You know, he cited that when he talked about possibly retiring last time. He's like, I'm a young man. Like, he's 26 years old. He probably feels like he doesn't want to, the idea of like, oh, let's think about when I'm 45 and I might be struggling with depression or all these other things that have been linked to concussions. I don't think it's in his field of view right now. You know, this is This is what it's like to be young.
Maybe also, too, he hopes technology and medicine and, like, maybe there's a cure for CTE down the road. I have no idea, but I'm sure that is entering his mind. I'm sorry, how old is he?
26.
26. He'd be like, well, by the time I'm 46, they'll have something that can help me with the ramifications of this. If there's $150 million on the table, we would all change the way we think. Like, I personally would be terrified of not having my wits about me later on. I mean, you guys have seen.
But you'd do it for the 150.
No, I don't think I would because I don't know if I would. Because, listen, you guys are making fun of me for already losing my memory. Yes. If you see people with dementia, it's like the most tragic thing that can happen to a human being. It's awful when you lose yourself, but you're still there physically.
I know.
So the fear is great. Where would you lean?
Well, I can tell you this is not a decision I've ever had to make, but I do have a son.
Yeah.
He's 5 years old, and I would I would not let him play contact football until he gets to high school, And I feel bad even saying that because ChrisNowinski, the Concussion Legacy Foundation, former Mr. Harvard from WWE, played football at Harvard. He would probably be, we've been friends for a long time, and he'd probably be disappointed that I even said that. So we're going to talk to Chris later on in the show. Speaking of people with gigantic brains, Perloff and I went to a Sports Illustrated reunion last night. I've never been to anything like this before. It was the 70th anniversary of the magazine. And it was basically, besides the amazing brains in this room and on Zoom, it was the largest collection of smart people I've ever been around. It was, if you're into journalism, this was quite the who's who of people who have walked through the doors of Sports Illustrated. But that's not the story I want to tell, unless you want to talk about that.
No. I'm dying to know what happened on the way home.
So on the way home, this thing was like 75 miles from my house, right?
Yeah, my daily commute in my old job, but yeah.
Yeah, right. I can't believe you did that for 12 years. So I think I've told you guys this before, but I drive an electric car. I got one for this job specifically because I'm just on the...
Oh, no.
And I'm really good about charging it and making sure it's charged all the time. But I know exactly sort of how far I need to go all the time and stuff like that. I really miscalculated how far this thing was. And I just said, I'm an idiot. And I just wasn't thinking about, do I actually have enough charge to make it to this place?
So it's full electric, not a hybrid where the gas kicks in at some point?
Full electric. I get into the car I park and I'm like, oh no, I've got 71 miles on the charge and I'm 71 miles away from my home. Like it was exact the amount of miles I needed to go was the exact charge. Fast forward to me driving home from this party that we went to. I had to go 40 on the highway. I'm in the all the way right lane with the flashers on. It's dark, by the way. I have like AAA platinum status, but I don't want to use it. Like I don't want to run out of charge on the highway. I've got tractor trailers just blowing by me. Yeah, it wasn't that funny.
Me on my golf cart would have beaten you on that.
40 with the flashers on. All the way home.
Well, I was a cute cart girl at a golf course in high school. And I could, despite the governor and that thing, we could have done 45 and beat you in a race.
And then the worst part was I'm talking to my husband. We were doing our production meeting, but then I talked to my husband about putting my kid to bed and all that stuff, and I missed the exit. And I cost myself like another 3 miles.
Oh, no.
I coasted into town on fumes.
EJ, you were on that call, the production call.
Yeah.
Did Maggie sound stressed to you? I was like, wow, Maggie was really kind of uptight about some of these stories. Were you looking at your car the whole time?
It was like that scene in Airplane where Stryker is just sweating, or like the Jordan Peele meme where he's just like got the sweat pouring down his face. And I was driving all hunched over, like, when you get nervous, like in a snowstorm. It was a scene, man.
Wait,
it was funny because like there were times where Perloff was like, "Well, maybe we could do this topic a little different." Maggie's like, "It's fine, let's move on."
Yeah, oh my God, that's exactly what I mean. Where she was really short on the call. And she's
I'm like, do we
normally
like
not.
the topic or do we not like the topic? Let's move on. We're not doing the show right now.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe if we're looking from this angle. These guys like, yeah. And Maggie's like, I don't care. Just get me home. Now I could totally tell in your voice. I'm like, wow, we just had this really fun party, and Maggie seems miserable. And I could not figure out. I'm like, she must be really tired or something.
How dare you? I'm gonna get stuck on. I was like, I'm gonna get stuck on like the Tappan Zee Bridge or something.
Oh God, I can't even hear this. It's making me stress.
I like having an electric car. It's been fine, but it's somewhat my own fault.
Naive question: could you stop at a gas station and charge up anywhere?
Well, my husband's sending me these charge stations, but I was kind of just like, let's just get home. Like it's late. I'm tired. We got the show the next day. In fairness, I wanted to watch the Bills game. There was a lot of reasons I needed to get home. So I was going 40.
Right, but you are charging so you can get home.
I know, but I have to sit there for an hour, to let it charge. It doesn't happen in the snap.
As compared to sitting in the woods of New Jersey, 3 miles from your house?
just pushing the car home. Cool. I made it, though. Talk about the Dolphins next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
In that work, avoiding space. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? People on, he's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. The GPS says charging stations far, but Maggie's more worried about Pete and where you are. He claims he's in the studio mixing some sound, but no one's seen Pete. He ain't nowhere to be found. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? People are, he's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. But it's all a disguise, or he's just napping while the radio dies. Maggie's got no battery, but Pete's got none. In the world of excuses, Pete Pilotti's number one. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? Pete Pilotti's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. So while Maggie's charging, Pete working or just turning off the light.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All too familiar scene, unfortunately, and that's Tua Tagovailoa leaving the game with a concussion. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Wish we could come on. Perloff, I'm dying to talk about my Buffalo Bills winning last night in Miami, but it's really not the story, and in some ways not even relevant when you think about the concussion for Tua. If you didn't watch the game, very scary. Goes down, puts his head into Damar Hamlin as he's running for a first down on a fourth down play, trying to make something happen after a terrible first 2.5 quarters, basically, where he's just was not having a good game. And he goes down kind of in that fencer's position where that arm goes up and the hand goes up, and immediately you know something is very wrong. They didn't cart him off the field, though. He was able to walk off the field, but diagnosed with a concussion right away.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I almost feel guilty for going into a lull on Tua because 2 years ago, all we talked about, the entire narrative about Tua was his concussion history and his health and should he keep playing.
Yeah.
Then last year, I think we got fooled into it. At least I got fooled into a sense of security around Tua. It was weird. You and I did talk about that he lost a bunch of weight this offseason to be quicker. I think we did say, oh, well, that feels counterintuitive in the sense that he was healthy all of last year, had a little muscle, especially around his neck area. Now he looks thinner. So I think it's a reminder once again, like you can never forget about how big an issue this is in the sport. And everyone's one random hit away from having real serious issues.
You're right, and the one random hit I get, but the thing is with Tua is now this is a pattern. I know that we didn't have one last year, a documented concussion, but if you go back to 2022 where he had 4 of them, you kind of have to say, yeah, maybe we were lulled to sleep. It was only a matter of time. It feels less random with him because now we have this established history, right?
Right?
So I think when you're talking about his future, it's a real discussion. Should he ever play again? You know, we asked you on X at Maggie and Pearl, should Tua play again? And I'm actually very surprised by the results. Overwhelmingly, 85% of people say no. And, you know, I think it's because we know so much now about concussions and especially the future effects. The guy has made a lot of money. He will be able to live comfortably if he, you know, doesn't make any risky investments and, you know, all the other ways that athletes can go broke. But if he lives like a good, he can have a good life if he walks away. It just doesn't feel like we're trending in that direction with him. I think he wants to play, loves football too much, says he's too young. Even though he contemplated retirement before, I just think he's going to do everything he can to get back on the field, and I just don't know if that's the right move.
Can you imagine having the superpower where you're one of the top 20 quarterback, the most important position in American sports, and you're one of the best at it? Even last night, there were certain plays I'm like, oh, man, Tua is so quick, gets rid of the ball. I can't imagine being masterful at football and not at 26 years old, not being able to play again. That would be forget the money. Like, it'd be so hard to sit it out knowing that you're still so good at it. So I expect him to try everything to come back. I'd be shocked if he walked away. I understand the 85% saying no. I probably would vote no, too. But in reality, when you're in their shoes, I think a lot of us would try to play.
You know, here's the thing, though, about like, yeah, he is a top at his profession and you want to play and you've dedicated your life to this. But let's be honest, you know, he's gotten a lot out of this as well. You know, he won a national championship at Alabama. He had a great college career. He's going to be a legend in Tuscaloosa for the rest of his life. He was a first-round pick. He is a starter in the NFL. He did get the big contract. They showed the confidence in him to give him that contract. Like, he's checked a lot of boxes. Yeah, it's an incomplete in terms of your NFL career, but you know, so many people would switch places for him for all the things he has accomplished, as opposed to let's look at not only look at the things he hasn't accomplished.
Absolutely true, but think about him in 2 years, say he retires now, he's going to be sitting there on his couch. He's going to feel fine. He's going to be watching football on Sunday and being like, I'm better than that guy. The itch to play again is going to be hard to scratch because there's no – I always wonder how athletes retire because there is no glory like being in that field with 80,000 people cheering for you. Like, that's probably irreplaceable. If I'm Tua, I think the draw to come back is going to be way too strong. Regardless of the logic, you can say to him you're going to really risk your future health, and consciously he can take that in, but I'm sure emotionally he's going to want to play.
No, I get it, and you're right. But, maybe, listen – is there a thing where he sits out for a while and then he does actually come back? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that impacts your long-term health, though, because, again, it feels inevitable that he's going to get another concussion. Maybe playing with the Guardian cap could be a thing. Maybe that helps. It would help us all, like, as viewers, we'd probably feel a little bit better if he had some extra protection. And maybe that starts a trend and other quarterbacks start wearing them.
Well, I think that's a great question. He has to answer why wasn't he wearing one?
I know, hindsight, right? I mean, he stayed healthy all 17 games last year.
Yeah, you're right. But, so I said earlier in the show, 5 guys wore it last week. I wonder if more wear it this week after watching Thursday Night Football.
Maybe. 855-212-4227. Should Tua continue his NFL career? We want to hear from you. Okay. We mentioned the theme of the show today, maybe trash talk. Not so much Perloff and myself, although maybe. You jerk. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. But let's get to the trash talk that's happening both on the college level and the pros. Let's start with the pros, and this is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's obviously getting very personal. It has been personal for a while. Burrowhead Stadium, the mayor of Cincinnati getting involved a couple years ago, and then the Chiefs really shutting them up. So here's Cam Taylor-Britt, obviously from the Bengals, who I don't know why he's volunteering this. He's really just stirring the pot. A lot of bulletin board material talking about Xavier Worthy.
That's about it. He can run straight. Run jet sweeps and just run straight. He can't do too much else, so that's about it. Feel like you put your hands on him. He's only 100-something pounds. So if you put hands on him, you'll stop the speed. So basically get hands on him.
Burrowhead my ass!
Here's more from Cam Taylor-Britt admitting that, yeah, of course he dislikes the Chiefs.
I don't like them. I don't think I like a lot of teams, but we see them a lot. We see them a lot. It didn't turn out the way we wanted to our last time. So yeah, of course, like you said, some guys think about it. I'm not thinking about it, but yeah, playing those guys is always exciting, man.
Okay. You jabroni! More from Cam Taylor-Britt. Says he plans to do a lot of trash talking on Sunday.
A lot of talking in this game?
Hell yeah. Don't shut up.
There you go. It wasn't just Cam Taylor-Britt. You've heard of Jamar Chase, Pearl. Says everyone knows they dislike the Chiefs.
Yeah, the energy's there, both sides. I'm sure they know we don't like them. They know they don't like us. So I mean, the energy's already there. It's not really much we got to say now to this point. It's been 4 years now, so everyone gets it.
Smart idea, dumb idea for the Bengals coming off a bad week 1. They look terrible. They lost to the Patriots. Chiefs look like they're in midseason form. Bad idea for the Bengals to stir the pot here?
Well, this is a cornerback. Whatever goes on between defensive backs and wide receivers, that's a whole different thing. Like the amount of talk that those guys do to each other, it's a battle of confidence. Joe. So I see what he's doing. He's trying to get in the guy's head, especially a young player. I don't think this is a bad idea because now maybe Xavier Worthy tries to do. I'm sure he saw this, and I'm sure he's going to try and do too much. Maybe the Chiefs, Mahomes is going to push the ball to his young receiver. Like the Chiefs are so good at running their stuff. Like I'll bet you the Chiefs are really good at ignoring all the trash talk and running whatever offense they want. But I think he's trying to get them off their balance. Because right now, the way the Bengals played last week and the way the Chiefs played last week, like they need to try something desperate. Like it can't.
This is the Hail Mary.
It can't hurt. They just lost to the Patriots, Maggie. Talk trash, do something. You got to say something. Just don't go in there without T. Higgins and get slaughtered.
This is beyond stupid. Like, when are the Bengals going to learn their lesson on this? You call it Burrowhead, you go in, you lose the AFC Championship game. That's when you tone it down just a touch.
They were really close.
Right. They were really close. Yeah, what do they say? Horseshoes, hand grenades? I mean, I think this is beyond silly. Beyond. Like, you're going to poke the bear. You think you're getting Xavier Worthy off his game? Are you getting Patrick Mahomes off his game, or are you going to make him upset? Are you getting
is that guy?
Kelsey off his game? You're going to make him upset. I don't love this from the Bengals. Like, you've got to win again. It's been a while. Like, since you last were in the AFC Championship game, your rival won the Super Bowl. They've won the last 2. You've got to, like, first go in and make a statement, win, then talk. Don't do it heading into the game. Yeah,
I mean, you just lost to the Patriots. You are not a rival to the Kansas City Chiefs right now. You are desperately trying to get a wild card spot. So I am immediately downgrading them. You had Jamar Chase hold out and then not produce in week 1. He said he was sick. And you have T. Higgins in a controversial injury. Whatever. I mean, you're a mess right now.
Yep.
Who was the guy, Trey Wingo, who said they were bad vibes all over Cincinnati?
He did say that. Someone he trusts in the building said the vibes are off.
You know that rivalry you're talking about? That doesn't feel like it's on right now. I feel like the Chiefs are at the top of the mountain, and they can't even see the Bengals. They're so far down right now.
Well, that's why I said this is a very important game for the Bengals. You and I talked about this yesterday. It's week 2, but I think it's an important game for the Bengals because I agree with you. They lose this game, they lose it badly. It's like the Chiefs just left them in the dust.
No, I think this is, first of all, Zach Taylor's never won in week 2.
That's weird, right?
They start out 0-2 every year and make the playoffs.
Don't you have to, like, self-scout on what's going on if that's become your trend?
The NFL schedule makers sure aren't helping them out, sending them to Arrowhead in week 2 this year. But I don't think the Bengals are in the place where you're saying that they have to show up against Kansas City to show that they're in that caliber. Honestly, I think this team is like, man, we better beat Washington the next week. They just lost to New England. What are you talking about, Kansas City? You have no right to call yourself a rival there. You got to sneak into the wild card of this brutal AFC North. I don't even think that's a question right now.
Yeah, and it's funny because if we're going back to the Miami-Buffalo game last night where Buffalo wins 31-10, Tua gets hurt, and he gets a concussion, and obviously this is the biggest story of the day. But I'll say it. I think they made too much of this game, Miami. You know, I don't know if the Bengals are making too much of the game going into Kansas City, and they're not division rivals, but I thought the Dolphins made too much of this game. It was too much about we've got to make this statement that we can prove and make up for last season when they lost week 18 to Buffalo, and that Buffalo kind of owns them. And Josh Allen has these incredible numbers against the Miami Dolphins. He's basically dining out on a lot of teams, but certainly Miami. And I think they made too much of it, and I think that's what leads to Tua, who was having a terrible game before he got hurt, kind of taking the risk, the unnecessary risk that he took, which ultimately led to him getting a concussion.
But you understand, like, this game is way more important to the Dolphins than this Chiefs game is to the Bengals. It's night and day.
Because of the division?
The division, the fact that the Bengals have proven that they can go from 0-2 to the Super Bowl. Like, I think the Bengals, and also the Bengals are geared for later in the season when they have Chase and Higgins. Right now,
kind of opposite of the Dolphins.
Everyone knew that they basically didn't have a preseason. They're training wheels early on the season. This is not whatever the Kansas City is going to see in week 2 is not going to be the same team in week 16 if Burrow is healthy, right? Because they just don't. Their super weapon is having Higgins and Chase, and they just don't have them. I know doesn't feel like Chase was really back last week. But I think there was actually a real rivalry. Talking about trash talk.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting topic that we really see differently.
What's that?
I agree with the Bengals guy. I do not see Xavier Worthy as a full-service wide receiver. You said he's the next Tyreek Hill. Even last night, watch Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill goes 100 miles an hour to the left, 100 miles an hour to the right, 100 miles an hour down the field. Like, he moves like a joystick. Now, I'm curious. Xavier Worthy is the fastest straight-ahead runner in NFL history. Does that make him a great receiver? I'm dying to know how many targets is he going to get. Because anybody can run a jet sweep. I'm not giving anybody credit for that. Right. I'm saying, like, is he going to be Tyreek Hill? Is he a massive, 9-target weapon? Or is he just going to, once in a while, have an end around?
Well, are we talking about him game 2 of his professional career? Or are we talking about Tyreek Hill when he's Tyreek Hill's age, or when he's established in the league and he's 5, 6, 7 years in? Because he could be a different guy. You develop your players, right?
I'm just saying, after 3 targets in week 1, to even say him in the same sentence as Tyreek Hill, which I get, it just feels like, Rich, I'm dying to know how they use him this week. Like, is he gonna catch mid-range passes? Is he gonna be targeted?
I think as long as he's getting in the end zone, I don't know if anyone cares how he gets there.
I don't know.
They have other guys who can help them move the ball, though. Like,
Yeah.
we've talked about the Chiefs. They want to run the ball with Pacheco. You've always got Kelsey there to bail you out. They have enough guys, and with Mahomes' brilliance, they can always move the ball. And so, however you want to use Worthy.
So he's like a
even
secret
as a
weapon, you're saying?
I think so. And what if he, I say shades Tyreek Hill, like, let's give him a couple of years and see if he develops into that joystick. He's in the perfect place to do it.
I mean, I think that's hard to say about any receiver because we've never seen another Tyreek Hill. I mean, there was no Tyreek Hill before Tyreek Hill. There's not going to be another Tyreek Hill after Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill does so many different things. And I'm not saying he's the best receiver, but he's such a unique skill set. There's no way Xavier Worthy's going to be that. That there's no upside. Like, it's not going to happen.
Man,
I mean, Tyreek
mark
Hill's,
that down.
There's no way Xavier Worthy's going to be the number one receiver in the NFL.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we still got a lot to go. It's game 2. But game 1, he scored 2 touchdowns. They used him a lot of different ways. He was a decoy on some things, too, where he attracted some attention. I think he's in the perfect spot to become, if it's not exactly Tyreek Hill, maybe he's Tyreek Light. Maybe he's poor man's Tyreek Hill. Like, that's also not a bad thing.
Or is he rich man's McCole Hardman? That's what I think that's the question. Is he end up closer to McCole Hardman or Tyreek Hill? I think it's TBD because Tyreek Hill will catch 11 balls in a game. I don't know. Is he just basically a fancy McCole Hardman? Who, by the way, did score the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. I was going to
say, love a McCole Hardman. 855-212-4227. That's the question we're asking you today. Should Tua play football anymore? At Maggie and Pearl on X. Again, you can call us 855-212-4227. You can also watch the show. Perloff and I not matching today. Kind of close. Not really.
Similar in tones.
Yeah, similar tones. We have this synced up thing where we end up wearing the same clothes all the time. Same colors, not clothes.
By the way, I got home pretty early last night. We went to a Sports Illustrated party last night. I was home in 45 minutes, and we heard the harrowing story of your electric car running out of juice and barely making it home in an hour 45. But it did take me, I was an hour and a half late to the party because it took me, my GPS said an hour at 1 o'clock. Then I get in the car at 3 o'clock. Yeah. It says 1 hour, 57 minutes.
And people kept asking me where you are, and I get it because you and I do a show together every day. But it's like, hey, Maggie, where's Perloff? I'm like, I don't know. He's stuck in traffic. I don't know. Like, oh, that's such a shame. I'm like, he'll be here. It's fine.
Oh, my God, the reaction. First of all, by the way, so Maggie, how long were you at Sports Illustrated?
8 years.
Yeah, so I was there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're twins, according to everybody. I mean, we've been doing this show for almost 3 years, and now we're like, you ever see that movie where Matt Damon was tied to Greg Kinnear of the Farrelly Brothers movie?
Yeah.
We're Siamese twins. Yeah. People are talking to me. It was like, yeah, tell Maggie this, tell Maggie that. I'm like, I have an actual wife and a family. I have more going on than just knowing Maggie. I know other people. I do other things in my life. It's amazing. Did you get that same vibe? You could talk to me. We worked together for 10 years.
Yeah,
dude.
I know. I got a lot of how's Perloff?
Yeah.
Like that. He's great. We're doing the show together. We love it.
There was a lot of, oh, man, I love the show. Now, where does it broadcast again?
Yeah. We should mention it. Sirius XM Channel 158, YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, all across the country.
We should have came out with a card because, there were a lot of, kind of an older crowd. They were not the most technically savvy group.
Yeah.
This is how you dial us up. This is how you go to the podcast. This is how you watch us on Infinity Sports Radio YouTube network.
Yep.
We should have had this as a different places because it was cool, but there were some older gentlemen there.
This is my dream. I want to come back as a former Sports Illustrated writer in the next life.
Oh,
when they had the bar card out and everyone was millionaires.
They all cashed in the late 90s when Time Warner and AOL merged, and they were millionaires. Now sports writers are like, what?
It's so funny. I was talking to a couple people, and sometimes it's delicate about saying, so if you don't know, so what are you up to? Because that can be kind of mean if someone's like, I'm clearly writing for the New York Times. How do you not know that? And in this crowd, that can really be the answer. So you don't want to ask too much, but for some of the older people, I felt a little bit okay asking. So I asked this one guy, I was like, so, what are you up to these days? And he goes, absolutely nothing. Good for you, man. Just hanging at the lake house.
Sitting on a bed of money.
One day.
Yeah, no, I don't think everyone, the thing about working in a place like Sports Illustrated, no matter when you get there, everyone's like, oh, you missed the party.
Everyone says that.
Sports Talk Radio, like, oh, you missed the party.
It. Yeah.
That's a thing.
We show up everywhere January 1st.
Yeah.
Just missed it.
And I feel bad for the, Pat and Manny and EJ. Like, you really missed the party.
No, they're starting the party. EJ, you would have loved this last night because I know you're a journalism junkie. This would have been your room.
Yeah, and I grew up just like idolizing Sports Illustrated, like most people my age who love this industry. So, yeah, even thinking about the names I'm sure were in that building make me think, would have been nice to get invited to that. Not, of course, I wouldn't get that. But I'm just saying, like, it would have been nice to be a fly on the wall.
You would have liked it. Unlike Pat and Manny, there were no models there. They were not honoring the swimsuit issue, which they should have been, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, that's it funded the magazine for a long time.
It definitely did.
I think that would have been, by the way, it was fun seeing, like, Seth Davis, but I definitely would have taken Kate Upton.
I think just thinking about that, I'll wet my pants. Who would have been more popular, Armin Katayan or Emily Ratajkowski?
I couldn't believe it. So I saw Armin Katayan was on the list. I don't remember him at Sports Illustrated. How long was he there?
I don't know. We
must have been back in the day.
Yeah, we didn't overlap, but that's funny. The only person who may be as good looking as a swimsuit model is Tom Verducci. Who was also there.
But also, too, just the most pleasant human being. Just talking to him, you feel at ease.
I know. Tried to get a World Series pick out of him. Didn't work.
Yeah, he's great. I think the biggest stars there were Andrew Perloff, Tom Verducci, Seth Davis.
Yeah. John Wertheim.
And John Wertheim.
60 Minutes correspondent.
It's funny because we talk about it. It's like the greatest writing ever. Like the three guys who are on TV all the time are just like, everybody's like, oh man, there's Tom Verducci.
Well, at one point too, they want to take a group photo. And the man who happened to be there was a man who's not a household name, but you'll know when I say Neil Leifer, who is one of the top 5 greatest photographers of all time. If you guys are familiar with the photo of Muhammad Ali standing with a one glove looking over Sonny Liston, that is Neil Leifer's photo, right? The iconic photo of Ali just over Liston looking down on him, like making the fist. And he's there last night, and they're trying to take this photo, and I'm like, let Neil take it. We have the greatest photographer, one of them in the world. Like, and that's just one of Neil's photos. He also has the top-down photo of Ali. He was basically Ali's like personal photographer.
Then why was it was some guy on a wobbly chair with like a BlackBerry taking a photo? This was the most disorganized photo I've ever seen in my life.
Basically, like one of the waiters took the photo. I'm like, we have one of the greatest photographers of all time here.
No one said smile. We're all milling around and nobody could see anybody. It's the worst. Have you seen the photo yet?
It's impossible. No, we are. It was yeah. Anyway. I just pulled up that Muhammad Ali photo. It's an amazing photo. 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. You want to talk about Tua. We want to talk about it with you. We're asking you, should Tua play football again? Another scary concussion last night. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff straight ahead. Football season is here, and Perloff and I are obsessed with Prize Picks because it's the best place to get real money sports action while watching football. You get season-long fantasy, Perloff. I don't have the attention span for it anymore. So Prize Picks, you just pick a new lineup every day. App's really simple to use. You pick 2 or more players across a sport. All you do, pick more or less. Thumbs up, thumbs down on a projection, and you could win up to 100 times your money.
Yeah, on Prize Picks, you can still cash out, even if the lineup isn't perfect, and all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Not only that, Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app with injury insurance. If one of your players goes down in the first half, Prize Picks doesn't count it as a loss. If Bryce Harper goes 0 for 4, that is a loss. Sorry, Bryce, I jinxed you. Just some of the many ways Prize Picks puts its members first.
Perloff and I go head-to-head on Prize Picks every day. It's taken over the show.
Yeah, I'm not picking a Philly this time. Okay, go ahead.
Download the Prize Picks app today and use code MNP, M-A-N-D-P, Maggie and Perloff. And you get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code M&P on Prize Picks. You get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Yo le iba a grabar, pero en baja calidad. Y ella me dijo que no está. Es una maldita loca, una ratatá. Ella lo que quiere es que la ponga en 4K.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. I did not get the memo that it was a Dance Friday. Manny and Pat on the other side of the glass. There's way too much movement. Maggie and I are tired. This is not going to work.
But happy to be here. But I get it. This is a banger of a song, Manny. Who is this?
This would be El Alfa. Dominican Dembow
Pearl
artist.
Jam?
Yes.
Okay.
Dominican version of Pearl Jam.
Is this daughter in Spanish?
Yeah, this is Dominican Eddie Vedder.
Yeah. Can we?
I love this.
Can we bring Crash by Dave Matthews for the next break so
No.
we can mellow out on this side?
I'll give you a better choice than that. Deep cuts only.
Yeah, one better choice is in it'll put us to sleep in 10 minutes rather than 5.
Also, deep cuts, what's the difference? They all sound the same.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What you say?
And
Yeah.
he's leaving. Oh, no.
Facial.
Why
Total
do
facial.
Can you come back with the other song by Dave Matthews? What's that other
you guys
one?
get a different joke? I mean,
No.
seriously.
I can't.
One-hit wonders. Be creative.
Well, it's basically Dave Matthews.
What
He
is-
got the one hit.
What's that
so
other
everything
song?
sounds the same.
The other massive
They're
hit.
going into the Hall of Fame next month. You don't go into the Hall of Fame as a one-hit wonder,
Oh,
Maggie.
God. No, not the Hall of Fame.
Bon Jovi kind of did. Well, no, Bon Jovi
Yeah.
got
Wow.
one. Actually, did you see that crazy story that Bon Jovi saved that woman, or at least
Yeah.
talked her literally off the ledge on a bridge in Nashville?
Yeah, I did
That's
see that.
incredible. That's amazing.
Did you see the footage?
So he was shooting a music video on the bridge,
But
right?
I saw there's a police camera or a traffic camera on the bridge, and you can see the lady. She's over the fence, so she's
Yeah.
at the outside of the bridge, and he walks over, hands out,
Yeah.
slow, and then talks to her, and then he literally
Pulls her?
Wow.
over the fence and then hugs her.
Do you think he said on Bon Jovi? Because I think in that point, that's the right thing to do. I think you say hey, it's me, John Bon Jovi. I think it's weird when people are like, do you have any idea who I am? That's the most obnoxious thing you could say. But I think in that instance, you do have to tell them, hey, identify yourself. Maybe you get a little starstruck. Maybe you feel all right, I matter enough for John Bon Jovi to come over and be interested.
Do you have to say we've got to hold on to what we've got?
Don't do it, bro. I thought you were
Does
going
it
to go
make
with
a
living on a
difference?
prayer.
If we make it or not?
This is a dark road.
Is
to
that
go
bad?
down. There's so much material.
I pulled up.
Let's do it off the
I'm
air.
walking away.
I did pull up. I'm going to back Maggie on an earlier take. I pulled up. What's the other song by Dave Matthews? The Space Between Us and Crash. Not a ton of difference there.
Have you heard either one of them?
Of course, I heard it, my entire life. It's on the radio it's on right now. Of course I've heard that song.
Sing
By the
the
way,
Space
Manny and
Between
Pat,
right
are
now.
you guys Dave Matthews
No,
fans?
of course they're not. They're 9 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, they missed it.
Hey,
Dave
we're only
Matthews
9.
concerts are very fun, though.
But you
I
know
give
the
him a
crowd.
big
Maggie, I don't want to hear
endorsement.
that. Maggie, no.
Why are they
There's
fun?
no
Do you see how many
backtracking, there's
different
no
drugs you can
hedging.
do to make the music sound good?
No.
Oh, wow.
Pat. No, how much you can drink. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you mean smoke.
There are bands I like that a lot of people accuse of it sounding the same. I love the Grateful Dead, and people think that all that sounds the same, or Fish, but I think it sounds very different.
Can I, honest question, what band sounds different with every song?
Great
a
point.
band is a band. Pearl Jam sounds like Pearl Jam. Taylor Swift sounds like Taylor Swift. What band songs are different every single
Radiohead.
time?
Nah.
The Strokes?
Oh,
No,
I
I
don't know, any
totally
good
agree with
band?
Bogus.
the Strokes, every song is the same song.
No, stop it.
I mean, the Beatles is obviously famous
I think,
for having a variety. I think the Rolling Stones
Dylan,
sound different.
Bob Dylan sounds the same, but he has a wide variety. I don't know, Springsteen, did that stuff sound different?
I think Springsteen sounds like Springsteen.
Yeah, I mean, you know their songs, but okay. I'm not going to say anything bad about Dave Matthews.
No, I've never. Now, I will admit that the initial batch of songs that made them popular in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
They sound like the band in that time. But what? I don't understand the argument in general because I don't still know a band that plays a different sound and a different song every single time. Everybody sounds like them because they're them.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I'm not challenging you or being difficult, but there's got to be a band out there that sounds different. There's got to be a band with a wide variety.
But I also can play you 5 different Dave Matthews songs right now that don't sound the same because some sound like hard rock songs. There's love ballads. There's the ones that you guys know from the radio. Crash and Satellite do not sound the same.
Yeah.
Other than Dave Matthews' voice, they're different songs.
Well, this is why I would say Radiohead, because Kid A does not sound like the Bends. And that's a band that evolved. Now we're just talking about music. 855-212-4227.
Evolved from depressing to very depressing.
Well, I mean,
And by the way, those
gotta
two
be in the
songs,
mood.
those are you could play either song, Crash or Satellite. What's the song? Satellite?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they sound so much alike. Go ahead.
Fair point, Bogish. Let's quickly hit Steven, who's in Tennessee, wants to talk about Tua. We're asking today, should Tua retire after the latest concussion? Steven, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. When in doubt, I would say yes, he should retire. I think the NFL should do things to encourage him, perhaps, and the Dolphins, if that means giving him cap assistance or whatever, to step away as long as he needs to permanently if necessary. I mean, I'd hate to see the guy end up like Steve McMichael.
Yeah, I mean,
Great
Steven,
point.
thank you. And you almost feel like, at this point, we can't be surprised if later in life you hear Tua's got issues. He's I'm hoping this doesn't happen, obviously. He's got good people around him, his family. But if you heard something like he was battling depression, would you be like, oh, well, I'm so shocked about that.
Nope.
And we watched this happen. Let's get to Bogus's headlines. Sorry for insulting your favorite band.
You're not. The headlines are
Park
girl at a golf course in high school by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code MNP to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit PrizePicks.com for restrictions and details. Whether it is the third or fourth concussion for Tua, it's 3 or 4 too many. The Dolphin QB hurt again on Thursday Night Football, running for a first down, putting his head down, and running into Bills safety Damar Hamlin. Tua again in that awful fencing position, his right arm frozen away from his body for a moment. He eventually walked off the field into the locker room on his own. Josh Allen hated seeing it from the Bills sideline.
Very sad. That's the worst part of the game. Nothing but love and prayers sending to him and his family, and hopefully everyone's sending those because he's going to need them. And it's the worst part of the game.
Before getting hurt, Tua threw 3 picks, one of which returned for points. His Fins still unable to solve these Bills. The 31-10 final in Miami, improving Buffalo to 14-2 in this series under head coach Sean McDermott.
All 3 phases factored in the win, which is good to see, and still a lot of work to do, but we'll enjoy this playing right home, and the players will be able to get some rest, and some of the coaches as well and staff, so it'll be good.
Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel will address the media again this morning, so we should have some kind of Tua update then. Now, last Thursday night, Ravens linebacker Kyle Van Noy suffered an eye injury in Kansas City. He then called the Chiefs unprofessional because it took an hour for the on-call ophthalmologist to see him at the stadium. The NFLPA agreed with Van Noy yesterday, saying it should not have taken that long for him to be checked out. The NFL says Van Noy was handled correctly, and it's disappointed the union would, quote, publicize unsupported claims.
Do you remember when they did that survey of all the NFL players in the Athletic, and it was like, who has the worst facilities? And the Chiefs got an F.
Yeah.
And apparently they've been promising to redo the locker room and stuff like that, and they've never done it. It's like, what does it look like, a war zone in there? Because Kyle Van Noy said it was awful. He said, I understand why they got an F. Their facilities are terrible.
But the NFL basically called him a liar last night. Which
is crazy. I've been to Arrowhead. I've never been in the locker room at Arrowhead. I was there for a different thing that we happened to be doing. Is it that bad?
Well, I think this was just somebody was there and took his time coming to see him. That's
right.
the general kind of story from Van Noy, that he should have been seen immediately to make sure there was nothing really wrong with his eye. He has a broken orbital bone, and that just no one came to see him. And the league apparently says that's not the case. I don't know what else unsupported claims would be. The claim is
it either happened or it didn't happen.
Right. If you use the last 16 games, Aaron Judge would be on pace for 0 homers this season, but Aaron Boone not worried about this career-long drought.
He's got 51 homers on the year. I mean, homers, even for guys like him, they still come in bunches, and you're going to have those stretches.
The Yankees won without Judge last night, 2-1 in 10 over the Red Sox.
Aaron Judge.
Lead on Baltimore in the East is now 2 full games, while the Sox drop 4.5 behind the Twins for the last wild card spot. Sabrina Ionescu, 20 points, 6 assists in the Liberties' 99-67 win in Dallas, and apparently playing for the single-A Fort Myers Mighty Muscles ain't all it's cracked up to be. Mighty Muscles catcher Derek Bender accused of telling some opposing hitters last week what was coming so they'd get hits and score runs and get Fort Myers season over with. Yeah, this is not.
Oh my gosh.
This is not a betting story. He didn't have the under or the money line. He just didn't want to play baseball anymore, telling teammates he just wanted to go home. The Twins have reportedly cut the pick from this past June, but it sounds like Bender still gets to keep his nearly $300,000 signing bonus.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He was sabotaging his own team just because he was homesick?
I don't know about homesick. He just he told his teammates he just wanted the season to be over.
For the hate of the game.
Isn't it over in a week?
Well, it's over now. This happened last week, and
sorry.
they finished it over the weekend with him apparently sitting in exile in the bullpen, not in the dugout.
Should have been a dunk tank.
Yeah. And he just, I guess he was afraid of them sneaking into the playoffs. He wanted to make sure they lost or something. But yeah, he just didn't want to be there anymore.
I'm sorry. This sounds like a story that's a gambling story that's disguised as not a gambling story. But can you bet on minor league baseball?
Yes. I'm sure you can.
Pat,
Hey, Pat. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, that's ready to go.
No. I've never bet on minor league baseball.
I got the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders tonight against the Syracuse Mets. Who you got tonight?
I've never bet on minor league baseball, but I know you can. So that's gotta. Why else would you tip pitches to the other team just because you're pissed off at the seat? Like what?
But you can with a bookie. You can't legally though, right?
Maybe you're a professional baseball
you
player.
can legally bet AAA baseball.
Well, yeah, but
no, this is single A.
Oh, single A. I would say there's no shot.
Maybe in Vegas. Certainly not on the apps. Like
unless you're taking some kind of offshore money.
What's the total for tonight's Hudson Valley Renegades game against the Brooklyn Cyclones?
The Iron Pigs. That's the This is fishy. That would also be an extremely blatant way.
Why not just
I'm also
go
still
home
confused.
if you wanted to go home?
Also, you're in single A. Something tells me you ain't making it to the majors, pal.
Yeah, right. Like if you really were that fed up with the season, can't you just? I mean, I'm not making light of it, but like, can't you just be like mental health? I need a break. I'm done with the year.
Or just be like, my arm hurts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rodney Dangerfield, this thing.
Right. Can't play skip.
Don't
Oh, my arm.
Yeah, I get the black lung.
That's a sick reference, Bogus. You got the best references, bro.
Don't make up for the Dave Matthews hate.
I know. Now we're all trying to get back on Bogus's good side because we seriously insulted his favorite band. I mean, you spent a lot of money and time seeing this band, and we've all made fun of it.
You can make fun of it. I just need better material. Like the other day, Perloff was like, isn't everybody just like stoned at the concert? How do they even make social media posts about the, like, no, it's not, we're not sitting there in like LSD circles spinning around.
Also, that's kind of like the sign you're at a good concert. Sorry. If
I don't know. It's not the hottest take I've ever heard that everyone gets high at a Dave Matthews concert.
No.
I don't feel like I was coming out of nowhere with that.
No, you said people were so messed up that how are they making concert videos and social? I forget how we got on this, but your take was we were too blitzed to write on Twitter that we liked the show or post a concert video.
Well, and then Bogus is like, no, the Dave Matthews Band fans have an excellent social media content.
They do. Yeah.
I mean, don't you think that's a bit nerdy to brag about your favorite rock band's social media content?
I wasn't bragging. I was correcting your mistaken point.
Yes, you were like, yes, they optimize their platforms, including TikTok. You said it like you were in a boardroom explaining the corporate strategy of Kellogg's
I showed up with the facts.
He gave you a PowerPoint.
Yeah, dude, this is supposed to be rock and roll music. You don't brag because they have a good Instagram.
Again, you said we were basically laying in puddles of our own vomit, so therefore we couldn't do anything about the show. Yes, I'm going to correct that. You started it.
What is your problem,
I think
dude?
that this is a good question, right? Do all bands sound the same? Do all good bands sound the same? Like
no. I hate this, by the way. Like, Bogus is 100% right. I feel like if you are a fan of an artist, you know that they have a catalog of music that sounds very different. But if you're just like someone who just listens to the radio, just runs into their songs every now and then, the songs that you get exposed to probably sound the same because they're going to just replay you the songs that were successful before. I hate this with every genre because they do it with hip hop too. They do it with rap. I'll hear a million times how much Rick Ross sounds the same. I say, guess what? He does it really well, what he does, and he also does have songs that don't sound like this. But if he did, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? It's
you really hate this. Like,
I
bothers you.
I do.
Like you're sitting with your fiance at dinner and like, EJ, what's bothering you? Well, here's the deal.
I believe EJ would do this, actually.
Yeah,
you know
probably.
what I mean? Andrea has sat through way too many rants. The fact that she still said yes to me over these ridiculous rants I have about random things.
She should be up for sainthood, dude.
Honestly, I
Exactly.
bet Andrea's like your P1. You know, it's like that's what we call people who listen to every radio show. She is, man. She likes it. It's great.
I call her the special counsel, just like Roman Reigns, for a reason. Like, she's legit the special counsel.
I guarantee she does not like it when you talk about the New York Knicks. I can tell you that right now. She might, is she a huge Knicks fan?
Well, she's not a huge Knicks fan, but the one thing she did get me to do was she said, you need more positive reinforcement. The way you talk about certain people on this team, Julius Randle, is not healthy. You're not helpful. So I've shifted.
It's a mental illness.
I had to shift in terms of how I talk about this team. Like, I'll be yelling something, she'd be like, "Hey, what? Calm down.
I can relate.
This is not helping."
Bam! You and Doug's in your face.
By the way, I still can't get over how unintentionally hilarious Perloff was before when he said to Bogusch, "What is your problem?"
Okay, I think
currently it's you.
He was beating in the argument.
For now, it's early in the show. I'm sure there are 3 other people who are going to make you angry before we're done. What is your problem,
I think
dude?
that this is.
He was beating in the argument, so he just goes, "What is your
Dude, chill." Okay, we've got a lot more to do, including what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. We'll explain that next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Andrew Bogusch, man, he's starting to steam. Maggie and Perloff said Dave's songs are a meme. All sound the same? Oh, that's just insane. But Bogusch knows deep down there's more to the pain. 'Cause Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. Traveling around with Dave Matthews Band, dancing on tour while we're short-handed. In a jam, but here's the twist. It's Bellotti on stage, not who you missed. Strumming along, never clocking in. Crash into me, nah, crash into a spin. Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. Jamming with Dave coast to coast. While we're left here, just making toast. Bogusch is mad, but we all know why. Peter's got backstage passes flying high. Maggie and Perloff, yeah, they're on a rant, but it's Bellotti with Dave doing the jamming dance. Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. On tour with Dave, man, we can't believe you ditched the job for this music reprieve. Bogusch's heart's in a jam, but here's the twist. It's Bellotti on stage, not who you missed. Strumming along, never clocking in. Crash into me, nah, crash into a spin. Bogusch's heart's in a jam, but here's the twist. It's Bellotti on stage, not who you missed. Strumming along, never clocking in. Crash into me, nah, crash into a spin. Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. Jamming with Dave, coast to coast. While we're left here, just making toast. Bogusch is mad, but we all know why. Peter's got backstage passes flying high. Maggie and Perloff, yeah, they're all rants, but it's Bellotti with Dave doing the jamming dance. But it's Bellotti with Dave doing the jamming dance. Bogusch is mad, but we all know why. Peter's got backstage passes flying high. Maggie and Perloff, yeah, they're on a rant, but it's Bellotti with Dave doing the jamming dance. So our hands are fumes and the music's the blame. Bellotti's out rocking, never showing again. Starting to steam. Maggie and Perloff said they songs are a meme. All sound the same, oh that's just insane. But Bogusch knows deep down there's more to the pain. 'Cause Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. Traveling around with Dave Matthews Band, dancing on tour while we're short-handed. In a jam, but here's the twist. It's Bellotti on stage, not who you missed. Strumming along, never clocking in. Crash into me, nah, crash into a spin. 'Cause Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. Jamming with while we're left here just making toast. Woo! Ovish is mad, but we all know why. Peter's got backstage passes flying high. Maggie and Perloff, yeah, they're on a rant, but it's the lobby with Dave doing the jam and dance. Cause Peter Bellotti, where'd you go? You're not at work, you're at the show. On tour with Dave, man, we can't believe you ditched the job for this music reprieve. So while Andrew fumes and the music's the blame, Bellotti's out rocking, never showing again.
Welcome back. So pull behind the curtain for a minute. We have a document that we use before every show called like our pre-show notes. And I love when I look in the pre-show notes and EJ has written, Maggie was right.
Wow.
Maggie was right.
Well, we shall see.
And what I may have been right about, and I'll revel in it, but I'm not taking a lot of pleasure in it, which is what's going on in Green Bay. When I pointed out that trading for a backup quarterback in Malik Willis, 2.5-ish weeks before the season, when Willis is not somebody who has a lot of NFL starts under his belt. I think it was, 4 NFL starts that he had, Perloff. He's not the seasoned veteran who could come in like Baker Mayfield, basically came, got traded to the Rams or signed by the Rams and had to learn the playbook on the flight.
Right.
Malik Willis doesn't have that kind of institutional knowledge. He just has no experience. So I thought, this is maybe a little dicey here for Green Bay to change up their backup quarterback. And you guys said you're an alarmist. They're not going to need him. And now, lo and behold, here we are. Jordan Love gets hurt and Malik Willis is starting on Sunday.
I think our logic was if Jordan Love gets hurt, what are you doing anyway? You're not going to win anything.
Well, you could hold the fort for a week or two, and now the Green Bay Packers are actually a 3-point underdog at home against the Indianapolis Colts, who have a quarterback who also has very little experience in Anthony Richardson. I mean, that's a lot of faith to have that Anthony Richardson, who is so fun to watch, Perloff, but wildly inconsistent, that they can come into Lambeau.
Wow.
And be a 3-point favorite.
Those 4 starts have not gone well with Malik Willis. I totally understand this. By the way, the guy they cut, Sean Clifford, had no starts in the NFL.
But he's been in the building for 2 years, hasn't he?
No, he was on the Ravens, wasn't he? I don't think he's been
Maybe
in 2
a year.
years. He was there last year, but he's never played either. He has, he has 3 rushes for -2 yards in his career. That's about it.
I think you're mistaking him with the other Penn State quarterback legend of Trace McSorley. He spent time
with the
Baltimore Ravens. Sean Clifford's been in Green Bay.
Right.
He was a draft
I think
pick of
Trace
theirs.
McSorley.
That's
Sean
right.
Clifford's not an NFL quarterback.
Well, yes, Sean Clifford is, in fact, in the NFL.
No, I mean, but he's definitely, I get cutting that guy. In my mind, I was picturing Trace McSorley. Are they the same exact person?
No,
Has
no,
anyone
not at
seen
all.
them together?
Yes, I've seen them multiple times in the same room. No, they are not they are completely different people. But yeah.
But, here's the thing. I desperately want the Packers to win, so Maggie will not be able to brag. I already formally apologized about your Cam Jurgens take. And but I want Malik Willis to run all over the Titans. Here's the thing. Oh, I'm sorry. The Colts. But who are they playing?
The Colts.
I'm mixing up AFC South like there's no tomorrow. I desperately like Malik Willis in his 4 starts has not been able to throw it all, but he can run. So maybe that's the formula with a backup quarterback. Switch it up. They in the second half against the Eagles, they ran really well with Josh Jacobs. So I'm not counting them out. And if they win, I think you owe me an apology.
Well, maybe, but you become a little predictable.
How so?
When your quarterback can't throw the ball. I mean,
not me, Andrew Perloff. You're talking about the team.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts don't have the
predictable.
most robust, dynamic defense, but I think they could probably sniff that out. Let's get to Malik Willis, who says he's in overdrive trying to learn the Packers offense.
The reality is I just got here, so it's going to be a little bit of overdrive, not as a normal week as if I've been here the whole time, but we're definitely going to be taking it day by day and just doing what we can each day to prepare ourselves for Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Packers are learning here. They kind of blew it. You know, as much as you love to have a $200 million quarterback, like you can't mess around with that backup situation. And I know that's like people are saying it's hindsight. I called it in the moment.
But they should. I mean, Sean Clifford would have been the same spread. I mean, what are you saying? They blew it. They maybe should have had a more experienced backup because there was nothing going. They had another quarterback there too.
You have Sean Clifford in your building. You know he's not good enough. You've got to address that. And there are quarterbacks out there you can get that are not going to break the bank for you. You know, you can get guys who can hold the fort.
So you would have been okay if they signed a veteran because obviously they didn't like the guys they had in camp behind Jordan Love. That's very clear. So I don't know if you got a Joe Flacco, but. I see what you're saying, but I don't know that it really makes a huge difference. I'm not sure they had a guy who's going to come in and win a lot of games. It's hard unless you really want to pay $9 million and have a Joe Flacco sitting there.
A lot of expectations, though, on this season. You got a tough division. Every game is going to be...
Who's your Bills backup now?
It's Mitchell Trubisky, who got in for a drive last night.
Yeeks.
I'm not happy about it. 855-212-4227. Okay, coming up, we're going to a little fill in the blank about college football next.
Okay.
Maggie Gray's cruising and her EV's so sleek, but the battery is low, man, it's starting to squeak. She's stuck going 40 on the highway lane. People honking loud, driving Maggie insane. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? People out, he's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. He's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? People on, he's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. The GPS says charging stations far, but Maggie's more worried about Pete and where you are. He claims he's in the studio mixing some sound, but no one's seen Pete. He ain't nowhere to be found. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? People out, he's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. Maybe he's got a gig, but it's all a disguise. Or he's just napping while the radio dies. Maggie's got no battery, but Pete's got none. In the world of excuses, Pete Pilotti's number one. Oh, Maggie's riding slow, but what's the bigger crime? Pete Pilotti's out of work for the 100th time. He says he's with Amy, but we don't see his face. He's MIA, stuck in that work, avoiding space. So while Maggie's charging, Pete's still out of sight. Maybe he's working or just turning off the light.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's really getting tough to watch anytime someone gets a concussion in a football game, but particularly for Tua Tagovailoa. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Dolphins lose last night to the Buffalo Bills. Not really the story. The story is Tua trying to go for a first down in the middle of the third quarter, lowering his helmet, hitting Damar Hamlin of all people. These two guys have had Damar had his life-threatening situation on primetime in a primetime game a couple years ago. But the fact of the matter is, this is the third documented and what everyone believes the fourth concussion for Tua. We don't even know about college, but in the pros. And he said that he had contemplated retirement after 2022, Perloff, when he had those 3 documented concussions. It has to be on the table for him again. And I know that's sad to say at 26 years old, but he's got to be thinking about it, and his family members and people around him have to be thinking about this too, right?
Yeah, but it is so tough to walk away. First of all, the money that's a real incentive. I mean, that's a lot of money. Second of all, the fact that he's so good. Like, imagine having this superpower in life where you're this amazing quarterback and then never being able to do it again when you're only 26. I think it's so hard to walk away. I can't imagine myself doing it. I can't imagine myself in his position because that means you have to think long term. It's hard when you're young to think long term. Look at Pat Boyle on the other side of the glass. He makes bad decisions every day. He's young and reckless. Oh, sorry, Pat. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's hard to look at the big picture for Tua. And let's face it, 150, whatever the money is, and I know people are going to sift through the contract coming up, but I do think that money plays a role. I think he probably got overconfident from I was thinking about this. What that movie made last night, he rammed his helmet into Damar Hamlin to get a first down on fourth down. I don't think he does that last year. I think that he was playing really carefully. This was not characteristic of him. He's usually pretty careful about avoiding that kind of hit. But it was a big play, as you mentioned earlier in the show. He was trying to make a play.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, and not only that, let's call it what it is. Tua was having a terrible game. I mean, he had 3 interceptions. Not all of them were his fault. He had 3 interceptions, and I got stopped on a fourth down where he took a sack, and the Bills scored off of all of those turnovers, right?
Yeah.
So he's probably feeling it. You have swirling in your mind this sort of the stats that have been out there that have been repeated about how much Josh Allen and the Bills have had success against your team since 2018, and they're won the 13-1 or 14-1, whatever the record is. On top of that, you have this big emotional week with the Tyreek Hill arrest, and I know they played a game right after that, but now it's setting in. There was just a lot of build up to this game, and Tua was playing like garbage. So you have to think
they were terrible last week. I mean,
they ended up winning that game.
One big lucky play.
You're right.
They were terrible for 3 quarters last week. So I think they were really down coming into this game, too.
And to be honest, I mean, it's funny. I looked at my husband during the game, and he's also a big Bills fan. And he's like, we're looking at each other like, are the Bills actually winning this game? I feel like the Dolphins are losing it. And that's what it felt like. Anytime they were starting to get something going, it was the offense that was making a big mistake. And so all of that matters because in the moment when you're down, but there's still plenty of time left for a comeback, he's looking at 4th and 4, and he sees green grass in front of him, and I get why he took off. He's trying to save it. He's trying to salvage something. You score there, you saw the Bills give up a kick return for a touchdown the other in week 1. Josh Allen's always good for a couple turnovers. His hand is hurt. Like, the game wasn't over at that point, and far from it. So I understand Tua making a play, and I think it's hindsight now, just because we know the outcome, to say he was being overly reckless.
That's funny. It felt really over to me. I mean, because the Bills called off the dogs on offense completely. Like, they were just sort of running to the line to kill the clock most of the second half. Like, how many passes did Josh Allen even throw in the second half?
He actually only threw 6 passes in the second half, but but this happened like midway through the third quarter. So
I personally did not feel like it was a game. I felt like even if they'd scored there, Miami just looked but
Miami can score quickly.
Yeah, but not when basically the Bills safeties were lining up at the 5-yard line, 30 yards away from the player. I mean, the Bills had them figured out. Just do not let Tyreek Hill get behind us. I
was wondering, it's 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Like, at some point where was the Bills defense? The Bills defense is not very good, but were they going to wear down and maybe you could take advantage?
What was the score when it happened?
Was it 24-10 at that point, or was it already? I'll get the score for you.
It's 31-10. It was after
31-10
the
at that point?
Yeah. It was
right. It was after the
in the third quarter.
The Jamarcus Ingram second interception.
It did not feel like a game to me at that point. I felt like even like the Bills were in a bend don't break mode. Let him get a lot of yards. They even
that's just their defense.
Well, right, but I thought they were saying you could score, just take a long time doing it, and they let the Dolphins run, for example. It didn't feel like a threatened game. My problem with the Dolphins, and we've been arguing about this all offseason, I think they're built the wrong way. They just built this old, injury-prone team. I mean, they are old. Is Jordan Poyer out there? I mean, it's like crazy how many 30-year-olds are playing important positions where you usually have young people. There's no way this is. There's no reason. Probably, I honestly would say there's no reason to bring Tua back. I don't think this team has a shot in the AFC.
Jordan Poyer, not only was he out there, he got called for a personal foul because he lowered the helmet, he lowered the helmet on Khalil Shakir, and I don't even know if Shakir got checked out. Actually, he should have absolutely gotten checked out. We can talk about the money, and we'll get into the contract because we're getting some new reporting on that. We'll get it to you in a second. I have one more question for you about Tua. So he's now going to be in the concussion protocol. There's 5 different levels that you have to pass, like 5 different stages that you have to clear before you can get back on the field. So I can't imagine he'll get cleared before next week.
Is this a question? Yeah.
I don't know, but I kind of would hope not.
Well, the question is
let your brain sort of heal, but. Do you bring in Ryan Tannehill? Do you bring in someone else? I don't know, that Mike McDaniel said he's not sure if Tua is going to go on IR. All this stuff has to be sorted out. But Skylar Thompson, who is actually the opposite of Tua, he might get better as the weather gets colder because he's more of a running quarterback, and he actually did pretty well when the Dolphins played the Bills in that playoff game in 2022. But
you need to bring in somebody, right?
You have to bring in somebody. Mike White, they traded away to the Bill, or they cut him and the Bills picked him up.
Because they don't have a third quarterback. So you're bringing in somebody this week. Would you invest in Ryan Tannehill?
Tannehill's out there.
But for what?
To hold the fort until Tua comes back, if he comes back.
To sneak into the wild card and lose another game?
I don't know if these guys feel like they're on the hot seat or something. I don't know. I think Miami, I think they feel like they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe, but they've been a playoff team and not won a playoff game. It feels like they're the same team. Yeah, I mean, why not bring in Ryan Tannehill? Is he going to break the bank? Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, he's the one guy who's sort of sitting out there. You feel like he could come in and plug and play, and obviously he's got a lot of history with the Dolphins.
What about, did Nick Foles just retire?
Yep.
You can bring him out of retirement. Who's a Mike McDaniel guy? That's the thing. We have to look at his coaching tree.
This former San Francisco person.
Why did they get rid of Mike White? You were surprised by that.
What's that, EJ?
Also, he worked a lot with the Texans, too. It's all the Kubiak, Shanahan tree. So someone that can run that kind of offense is who you're looking for.
Well,
yeah, I feel
Colt
like
McCoy is retired.
That's actually a big deal. Like somebody who knows the language of that offense. I don't know if Tannehill has had a coach. I mean, Tannehill's had a bunch of coaches, so he probably does know it at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe trade for my guy Andy Dalton. They don't need him in Carolina. I'm being serious.
They do. They need Andy to step in right away if they don't want the season to go off the rails.
Too late.
Yeah, fair.
Still lost 47-10 to the Saints.
Do you bring in somebody? Do you bring in Tannehill? Because let's be honest, like there's a world where Tua doesn't play again. There's a world where
Oh, how about
He doesn't play for 2 months, 3 months.
How about Jimmy G is the primary backup in LA, isn't he? That would make sense.
Yeah, I mean,
he knows that offense like the back of his hand.
Stephen Bennett's there, I guess, but I don't think that they would trade Jimmy.
Oh, this is tough. This is really tough. And by the way, if they do get Ryan Tannehill, I'm not upgrading them that much. Like I'm not like, oh, here come the Dolphins with Ryan Tannehill. It still feels like they have a long road ahead of them.
855-212-4227. Okay, so this is what's ahead of the Miami Dolphins right now. Do we have time to play a little fill in the blank here? EJ is our executive producer. I don't know if we have enough time. How about this? Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back. We'll do it on the other side because we want to touch on some of the college football games this weekend because you got a couple teams who are on 100% upset alert, Pearl.
Yeah.
This is the sneaky week because you look at the slate and you're like, do we have like any heavyweight battles? Like maybe not. And that's always the week you don't see coming. When all of a sudden there's a million upsets and it's like, week 3.
A lot of buys this week, though.
Couple buys.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I'm so sorry. I'm a little distracted.
Yeah.
There's a fly from hell in our studio right now. I thought I just had him lined up.
I don't know how a fly would get in here.
We don't eat in here?
We don't eat. Well, I mean, sometimes I do, but we don't.
Oh.
It's sealed off. We're in a soundproof studio. How is wildlife getting in?
So I saw it earlier, kind of stuck in the middle of the double pane glass over here. And
he escaped?
I mean, I see enough of a crack where, I mean, you guys can hear me in between breaks making noises in here. So, I mean, I can imagine a fly can get through one of these tiny cracks in the glass.
You want to know what I'm actually very nervous about? It landing on my head. You guys not saying anything about it, and it just being there. Like, didn't this happen to like former Vice President Mike Pence during a debate?
Mike Pence?
Yeah. Well, I have product in my hair, and you guys, I don't think you do, but I have hairspray in my hair, which could attract something.
And what does this become a national scandal if you have a fly in your hair for a minute?
No, it's just embarrassing.
Perloff, just smack it when you see it.
What's the alternative? You want me to all of a sudden go like...
Don't move.
You realize, Maggie, that there's got to be a special kind of hate that we would have to have for you to see a fly on your head and just be like, oh, yeah, fly. Maggie said.
Don't tell her. Don't tell her.
I 100% think you guys would do that. And not because you hate me, because you think it was funny. Because I would do it to you.
Wow.
For the content.
Projecting. Thank you for projecting your own.
No, I would let a fly be on your
mannerisms.
head. I would not let you have something in your teeth, though. I'm a good friend like that. I'd be like, oh, you got something in your teeth.
Wow.
No? That's being a good friend. You got to tell someone when they got something on their face.
I don't know. Somebody who says I'm a good friend, that immediately has me suspicious.
I'm an awesome friend.
Yeah.
Best
I'm already,
friend ever.
that's the first red flag. I just want this image. If you were saying it is open season, so you could be in the middle of like coming up on Maggie and Perloff show. Ow! Why'd you just hit me in the head?
Honestly,
there was a fly.
If you got the fly out of here, it'd be totally worth it. It's so annoying. And we're talking about something, it's always when we're talking about something serious, it's stupid fly. How dare you? Yeah. Fly.
All right.
All right.
Speaking of going to break.
855-212-4227. Poll question out on X at Maggie and Pearl. Should Tua Tagovailoa play football again? You guys are saying resoundingly no. 84% say absolutely not. Go vote. You can watch the show, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet. Coming up, we will attempt to make you money. Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Been discussing Tua Tagovailoa's concussion last night. Where do the Dolphins turn to right now? Tua obviously has not been put on IR yet. Skylar Thompson is the quarterback. They have to bring in an emergency guy for sure. We'll see what they do this week. We're open for ideas because you mentioned Ryan Tannehill is an option. Aren't a lot of veterans out there right now. I think it's tough. We also were talking about how the Packers might have made a mistake only having Malik Willis behind them. There aren't a lot of backups floating around, so I'm not sure there's an easy solution.
Let's go to Adrian. He's in Maryland. He's got a good idea. What's up, Adrian?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, got a couple quick things. For one, Nobody's talking. Why isn't Tua wearing a Guardian cap?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We'd be shocked if he does come back, Adrian. He's got to be wearing one.
And the second thing, I'm a Dallas guy. We lost the fourth rounder on Trey Lance. He knows the verbiage. He was there when Mike McDaniels was there. Why not Miami go get Trey Lance, give Dallas back their fourth rounder? It's all settled, right?
Yeah, I mean, can he play, though? Is he an upgrade over Skylar Thompson? He might be. I don't know.
He's
unknown.
He's a top 5 pick. He's got to be an upgrade over Skylar Thompson.
I don't know. I mean, Brock Purdy was a 7th-round pick, but no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, Skylar Thompson is not a great QB, but is Trey Lance?
Trey Lance can run.
I think you're going to get more out of Trey Lance than you are Skylar Thompson. At least Trey is 4 or 5 years in, right? What's he, 3-4 years in? I'm just saying the verbiage in the system.
Adrian, it's a good idea. I mean, if they're whiteboarding this out, you got to put Trey Lance up there. It's a great idea because you just gave Dak the big contract. Excuse me. So there's no more. Oh, is Trey Lance actually the quarterback of the future? He's not. They gave Dak the bag. Adrian, thank you, sir. Great to hear from you, and have a great weekend. Stuart is in Durham, North Carolina. Lovely place to go. Stuart, should Tua play football again?
Hi, guys. The easy answer is no. But, Mike Golick used to say all the time, the only way you're out of the league is if 32 teams say no, which means the athletes don't know better. The athletes get to that level that we'll never understand, and part of that is their compete level. And so it has to be the adult in the room making the decision. And that should start with doctors. After that, it's got to be some adult, his parents, his agent. God forbid a sports team like the Dolphins ever made a decision that wasn't based on winning. But he's never going to make that decision. And you almost can't blame him because that's how you get to a level like that is one thing, and that's compete. And maybe he does get a job for Stephen Ross or the general manager or something. But it's got to be an adult that makes the decision in the room because an athlete just won't.
Yeah, not saying that an athlete's like a child, but just saying that they're so singularly focused on doing everything they can to get back. That's just the perspective is skewed. I mean,
the money, too. I mean, there's a lot of money. There's 150 million reasons that Tua would want to come back.
Yeah, but that should be something that could be worked out, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Are you so sure about that?
If somebody cannot play because it's not, there should be able to be something worked out is all I'm saying. I understand contracts and things like that. And again, that's part of why athletes don't walk away, but that should be a side note to this. I mean, one more and, he may not walk again.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Stuart, and thank you for the phone call and the perspective there. But here's the other part, too. You're talking about money, and we'll dive into it. And I know Bogusch is here, and Mike Florio's got some details on all this. Let's not forget, he also got his first rookie deal with $30 million guaranteed at signing. It's not $100. I get that. But it's not nothing. Okay, let's turn our attention to the rest of the action this weekend. And for that, we welcome in our good friend, Nick Kostos, co-host of You Better You Bet, one of our absolute faves. Nick, good morning.
What's going on, guys? Great to be on with you today. Maggie, shout out to our Bills last night for getting the win and catching some bets, which was awesome.
Bills. I told Perloff he's not allowed on the bandwagon, and Nick, neither are you. You have to suffer with the Giants this year.
Great. Okay, well, yeah, like my team's terrible, but I bet on Buffalo last night, so I'm on the band. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo.
No, get out. Not allowed. No, just kidding. Nick, okay, let's turn our attention to this weekend. And I'm going to kind of give a lean of where I'm thinking for one of my against the spread picks. How are you looking at this Dallas-New Orleans game? Because you had Dallas who looked great against the Browns. That was your upset pick last week, and you were all about it. The wrong team was favored, as you like to say, WTF. And
WTF last night, by the way, with Buffalo and Miami, which worked out pretty well as also.
No doubt about that. But you see the Saints, they put up all these points, but it was against the Carolina Panthers, who might be the worst team of the decade. So Dallas is a 6-point favorite. How are you approaching this from a betting standpoint?
Also, just for people that like to bet awards, we have a WPF, wrong player favored. Tyreek Hill is the co-favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year. Like, can never win now if Tua Tagovailoa is going to miss like the entire season or a lot. And he can't win, and he's the co-favorite. Just something to keep in mind for people that like to bet awards. As far as the Cowboys Saints game goes, Maggie, I think you're 100% right. To me, that game is infinitely more about the Panthers than it is about the Saints. And coming into the year, I think the big knock against New Orleans, in addition to the coach and quarterback, was maybe the worst offensive line in the league, like dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of like no talent players on the offensive line. And you can survive that when you're going up against the extremely talent deficient Carolina Panthers defense. Might be the worst defense in the league. How's that going to go when you're lined up against Micah Parsons and company? The only way I would look in this game would be to lay it with the Dallas Cowboys. It is worth noting that the betting movement we've seen since open in this game has been slightly towards New Orleans. This opened Dallas -6.5. Now we're sitting basically like Dallas in between 6 and 6.5. So a little interest in the Saints. Maybe that's a little pessimism in Dallas's offense. Cowboys did score 33 last week against the Browns. A little misleading. Only about 4.4 yards per play for the Dallas offense. But you make me bet this game. It is Dallas or nothing.
So you mentioned the Carolina Panthers. They're only 5-point dogs against the Chargers. Is that a function of do people think Jim Harbaugh is going to play every game close and not blow out even a bad team?
So just so people that don't know, for a team to be favored by this much on the road in the NFL, like this is not like the ACC, for a team to be favored by this much on the road, like the team that's favored either has to be one of the best teams in the league or the team that they are playing has to be like the worst team in the league. And I think we've got one of those boxes checked off here with the Panthers, because the Chargers would not be this close to a road favorite against any other team in the NFL. So I think one of the reasons we've seen, Perloff, some people be interested in betting the Carolina Panthers here as a home underdog is because they think the point spread's too big. And to your point, maybe this is Jim Harbaugh like grinds the clock down and doesn't care about covering the spread. It's not the BCS. And maybe this is like a closer win for the Chargers. I wouldn't bet the Carolina Panthers with your money. I wouldn't even think about it. Carolina couldn't touch Derek Carr last weekend. Chargers rookie offensive tackle Joe Alt, who I picked 5th overall, like stoned Max Crosby last weekend. I think Justin Herbert might not get touched the entire game. I think the Chargers might score 30 points in this game. I'm not rushing to lay it with the Chargers. I would never, ever bet the Carolina Panthers. And just to anyone out there who wants to bet the Panthers in this game, just do yourself a favor. Bet them in the first half if you like them. Like if you really like them in this game. Because if they're down at halftime, they are never coming back. Like they have to get a lead if they're going to cover the spread. Chargers are nothing for me on Sunday.
Have you guys seen the Joe Alt nickname, by the way? Control Alt Delete.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. You have to see it on paper, Nick. It's good.
It's bad.
Nick's not impressed.
It's pretty good.
Nick Kostos is the co-host.
Really
You
bad.
better bet. I mean, it's not like Dr. Duncanstein or something. Like something.
I mean,
really
it's modern. It's a modern version.
We got like QWERTY humor, like keyboard humor.
he
QWERTY humor.
He controls a defensive player. He's all, and then he deletes them. He pancakes.
Yes,
them.
I get it.
I just want to make sure you got it.
It's fun.
And it also means when you have to restart your. Okay.
This is what happens when someone goes to Dartmouth and then also hosts a sports talk radio show. Okay, Nick Kostos is joining us from You Better You Bet. Nick, a lot of home dogs this weekend. Obviously, the Panthers are one of them, but you wouldn't obviously bet them with Perloff's money. But you also have the Green Bay Packers. You have the Titans. You have the Vikings, the Patriots, and the Denver Broncos. And Cardinals are slight, but let's just go with the absolute home dogs. Is there anyone you like out of those?
I like the Broncos if I had to choose at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, that was a great Mike Tomlin spot. Like getting 4 points on the road. No one believes in us. Justin Fields as quarterback. Bet them. It was really awesome. This is also now a classic Mike Tomlin spot. Now on the road, Justin Fields as a favorite. Now, this will be Justin Fields' 22nd road start of his career. He has never been favored until now as a starting quarterback on the road. Now, this point spread was 3.5 earlier in the week. It was 3. Now it's 2.5. I still like the Denver Broncos. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I like the Broncos to win this game. And just on Colts Packers, which is a really interesting game, right? With Malik Willis probably going to start for Green Bay. We have seen the Packers take some money because Indianapolis might be down 3 important players, starting players on their defense, most notably defensive lineman DeForest Buckner. My thought on this, I hope none of them play. I hope Anthony Richardson doesn't play. Get Joe Flacco in there so we can bet the Colts at an underdog price. Malik Willis shouldn't be starting in the XFL, much less the NFL. So yeah, give me no players playing for Indianapolis so I can get a better price on the Colts coming up on Sunday in Lambeau.
Nick, I know we would talk a lot of NFL. I have a quick college question. How do you view Deion Sanders in Colorado? Do you give them any chance? I mean, Colorado State, they're favored by a touchdown again. Last week, I stupidly picked them against Nebraska. I find them a very confusing team.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's clearly like a grifter of some kind, right? Like in it, not necessarily like to win football games for the Colorado program. As far as this game goes, I would never bet Colorado, but it is worth noting Colorado was a bigger favorite a couple days ago, so they've now been bet down to 7. So there was betting interest in the underdog in this game, Colorado State. Colorado State obviously has this game circled after the way last year's game ended. Big time revenge game for that program. I mean, I would only bet Colorado State in the game. I don't have a great feel, but again, worth noting, sharp bettors have been betting on the underdog in this game, betting against Deion, betting on Colorado State.
Nick Kostos joining us from You Better You Bet. What about the Civil War? Again, this is another one I'm looking at. Oregon State, 16.5-point favorite for Oregon, but they haven't played particularly well the first 2 games, and they are not blowing people out like we thought and like they usually do in the beginning of the season when they play lesser opponents. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, for me, it's lay it or don't play it. It's Oregon or nothing, and I had Oregon and the over last week against Boise. One of those bets was good. Ashton Jeanty it's going to be like a top 15 pick, by the way, in the NFL draft. At some point, Boise State's awesome running back. At some point, Dan Lanning is too good of a coach. He's going to get this Oregon defense fired up here, and I think they're going to end up playing really well in a game. I think it's going to be this one. So for me, this is Oregon, lay it or don't play it here. Quack, quack with the Ducks on Saturday.
Back to the NFL. Bengals Chiefs is obviously going to be one of the marquee games because of the quarterbacks and because of the history and everything. This line has fluctuated a little bit between 6, then I'm seeing 5.5 now. How do you see this game? What's the good betting angle?
Yeah, so I think the thing that people need to consider, just like wait to see the injury report today, which is like not a fun answer to give on a Friday morning, but look, this is how a lot of people bet and how like a lot of valuable bets can be placed. It looks like Cincinnati will be without their star number 2 receiver, T. Higgins, in this game. He didn't play in week 1 against the Patriots, hasn't practiced yet this week with the hamstring injury, but if he's able to get on the field today, I think that's going to drive some interest in the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if he doesn't, my guess is we probably hang out in this range, a Kansas City in between a 5.5 and a 6-point home favorite. And look, Kansas City should be a big favorite in this game. The Chiefs are the best team in the league. The Bengals stumbled out of the gate. For me, and I think a lot of people will probably agree, and just because we agree doesn't make it square, doesn't mean it can't win. It's Joe Burrow getting 6 points against Patrick Mahomes. Burrow, besides for Tom Brady, who no longer plays, is the only player we have seen slay the dragon in a big spot. So if the number is going to be 6, whether Higgins plays or doesn't, this will be a bet for me on the Cincinnati Bengals. But let's wait to see what happens with T. Higgins today, see where the point spread goes. It's Bengals or nothing for me on Sunday in Arrowhead.
You know, I don't know if this is a betting question necessarily because you are a Giants fan. Are there quarterbacks after 2 weeks playing for their job this week? I mean, I hear Daniel Jones. I thought Will Levis really screwed up that Titans game. Like, is it getting early around the NFL with some of these teams, or am I just totally overreacting to week 1?
No, well, I think it depends on the situation, right? Like the Titans are invested in Will Levis. So like Will Levis is not getting benched anytime soon because they need to like see this through. They hired this head coach, Brian Callahan, to quote unquote, like fix Will Levis. And you can't turn to Mason Rudolph to save your season in year 1 for the head coach. Giants are a bit of a different story because like Daniel Jones can't save his job. Like it's actually impossible. I don't think it's possible. He's not good enough to save his job. And we already know because they told us on the TV show that they had editing creative control over, that they wanted to trade up for Jaden Daniels or Drake May. We know the Giants are done with Daniel Jones. So not only I think is like Daniel Jones like not playing to save his job, I think it's going to reach a point, and I don't know when it's going to happen. Remember the Broncos bench Russell Wilson at the end of last season, not because he was hurt, but because he had injury guarantees for this season, and they knew he was not going to be in their future plans. So Jarrett Stidham plays. Daniel Jones has injury guarantees in his contract for next year. At some point, they're going to bench him while he's healthy, and Drew Lock's going to start the rest of the year for the New York Football Giants.
Nick Kostos joining us from You Better You Bet. A couple more for you, Nick. We'll get your upset pick of the week as well. The Bears and the Texans is Sunday night. Big spot here for Caleb Williams. Did not look good in his debut. Got helped out because Will Levis looked worse.
God, can we not like talk? That was a crusher.
I know you and Perloff both ate it on that one. Houston now a 6.5-point favorite, so not a full touchdown. How do you see the betting side for that marquee game?
And for people, by the way, that bet the Titans game on Sunday, I know it's week 1. There's a chance we get to the end of the season, and that's like the worst beat of the year, like in any game. The Bears averaged 2.9 yards, but couldn't do it. Caleb Williams threw for 93 yards, and they won by 7 points. That one was pretty aggravating. To Sunday night now. I really like the Texans.
Yeah.
I think the Texans might be a juggernaut this year in the regular season. Like they have maybe like the 3rd or 4th best roster 1 through 53 in the league. They could be sitting on like a 13-4, 14-3 regular season. And while I think the Bear, like Caleb Williams is going to be fine. I mean, that's like a rookie jitters first game, what we saw last week. I think he's going to be up against it a little bit in this game now, just to go back to injury report stuff, right? So everyone was really excited coming into the year about the Bears' top 3 receivers with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and the rookie Rome Odunze. It looks like Odunze and Allen are both not going to play on Sunday night.
Yep.
Neither has practiced yet this week. Odunze week to week with the knee injury. Maybe Allen gets a limited practice. Maybe he won't be 100%. So this is going to be a Bears offense that is like not firing on all cylinders here, going up against CJ Stroud and that electric offense for Houston. One thing to note, if you want the Texans this weekend, you play fantasy football. Nico Collins dealing with an illness, limited in Thursday's practice. Let's monitor that throughout the weekend. I think the Texans might win this game like in blowout fashion. Texans or nothing for me on Sunday night.
Okay, let's get to Nick's upset pick of the week.
Can I be lame and offer a contingency here or no?
Sure.
Definitely.
I think the answer should be no to that, honestly. Can I,
no.
What do I get the music underneath me also? Like the million of bum, 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 bum.
Oh.
We'll workshop that.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I love this pick. I absolutely love it. I hate, go from love to hate. I hate my favorite team. I hate the New York Football Giants. I hate Joe Shane. I hate skinny Brian Dable. Give me fat Brian Dable again. It's brutal. Like, is he a good play caller? No Zempic. No, he's not. He's absolutely awful. And my quarterback's the absolute worst. With all of that being said, the Washington Commanders are definitely worse than the Giants. They just are. They are worse than the Giants. And I love Jaden Daniels. I would take Jaden Daniels as my quarterback over Daniel Jones. Not even think twice about it. But the Giants are absolutely better than Washington. The Commanders' offensive line is Swiss cheese. I think this is a huge game for Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and especially sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence. And if Malik Neighbors plays, now he's limited in Thursday's practice with a knee injury, and you play fantasy, you want to bet this game, like that's a big deal. Like we want Malik Neighbors big time to play in this game if you like the Giants. If Neighbors is going to be good to go here, he's going to go for over 100 yards on this Washington secondary that made Baker Mayfield last week look like Joe Montana in his prime. Giants are better than Washington. It used to be the Washington football team, the WFT. I say in this game, not WFT, WTF. Wrong team favored. Giants win on Sunday in our nation's capital.
I mean, to be fair, this is the only team the Giants have been able to beat over the last
no, they
few
get
years.
the Browns next week, right? Watch the Giants go 2-1 and this obnoxious town be into the Giants again. Nick, if you, after everything you said that Daniel Jones is going to be benched, if they go 2-1 and you start changing your tune on the Giants, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
There's no tune change. They're not beating the Browns. Like it's not gonna happen. Also, I like how the Philly guy is like, oh, New York's an obnoxious sports town. That's great. Pot me kettle.
I was gonna say pot me kettle, glass houses.
Oh, listen. We are obnoxious. You're right. I just want you to say that you are too.
But Nick, we're kind of winning right now. You're not.
Bam. Are you?
Dunks in your face.
Are you winning?
Are we winning? Are we?
Are you?
Nick, thank you. You're the best. Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet. It's a fantastic show. We love it. Comes on with us every Friday. Thank you for the help, sir.
Nick, when you're getting off the Zoom, hit Control-Alt-Delete, and that will get you off there. That's a little hack.
Thanks, buddy. Wishing you guys and your listeners minimal sweats, winning bets. The absolute very best of luck.
Yeah. I didn't believe that Nick was really wishing you minimal sweats. Everyone else, just not Perloff. Thank you to Nick Kostos. Love it. We're going to hold off our updates. We'll do it right after the break. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. He and Femi Abebefe do a great job. Check them out. Nick joins us every Friday to give us a betting angle on all these NFL and college games. If you miss Nick, you can always hit the rewind function on the absolutely free to download Odyssey app. It's crystal clear. You can also check out the Maggie and Perloff podcast wherever you get your pods. 5-star reviews are always welcome. Seems like a small thing, goes a long way. You have no idea. Andrew Bogusch has the big stories for this morning.
Can't believe you spoke over Radiohead. Josh Allen's left hand was the QB injury of note entering Thursday Night Football in Miami. The Bills QB didn't need to do anything heavy lifting thanks to James Cook.
Handoff goes to Cook, and a work through the middle, through a hole, and into the secondary. 30, 25, 20, 10, 5, flips into the end zone for the touchdown. 49 yards for James Cook, his third touchdown of the game.
2 running, 1 receiving on Bills radio. Buffalo cruising to a 31-10 win in Miami, extending their mastery of the Fins to 14 wins in 16 tries. Allen and his left hand survived the night just fine, but unfortunately Tua Tagovailoa did not. Miami's QB suffering his latest concussion on a run late in the third quarter with the game kind of decided already. Tua walked off the field on his own, restarting the conversation about his long-term health. His head coach, Mike McDaniel.
I was just worried about my guys, so it's not something that you ever want to be a part of. You know, you hope not to.
McDaniel said last night it was too soon to discuss a timetable for Tua's return. He does have a new media session this morning. The Seattle Mariners wasting a 4-1 lead last night, losing at home to the Rangers 5-4. The M's now 4.5 games behind the Astros in the AL West. Texas shortstop Corey Seager's having season-ending sports hernia surgery today. An easy win for the league-leading Liberty last night in Dallas, 99-67. New York can clinch the top seed in the WNBA postseason by beating second-place Minnesota on Sunday. A little hockey news this morning. Devils defenseman Luke Hughes suffering a shoulder injury earlier this month. He doesn't need surgery, but is out 6 to 8 weeks, which means missing the beginning of the new season, which opens for Jersey with 2 games in Czechia. And this is not exactly Ralphie's run before a Colorado football game. Some dude drove his pickup onto Folsom Field last night. He was being chased by police for an alleged hit and run. Carl Hagelin is now charged with leaving the scene of an accident, other crimes. He apparently hit another car, some trees, almost a witness while leaving that scene. And there is surveillance video of this guy with his pickup having carved up the grass on the field, hands in the air, surrendering to police.
I think he's also not wearing a shirt, if I'm remembering.
He is not
that.
wearing a shirt.
Yeah,
that is correct.
That was a detail that I felt was not that shocking. Did anyone else think this when they saw this? First, obviously, this guy's got to go to jail for a while.
Y'all want to do this? Let's do this. You want to do this?
How did he get in there with the pickup?
He just drove through a gate.
Like he took out the gate. The gate's closed, I'm assuming. Because like we've all been in stadiums. Generally, the vehicles around there are like carts and stuff, not pickup trucks.
Yeah, no, I don't know the exact kind of layout, but what I read was
tunnel did he go in?
He drove through a gate and ended up being on the field.
Do you believe that?
I mean, he's lucky he didn't kill somebody.
Yeah, nobody was hurt, thankfully, involved in any of this as he went through campus at the original accident scene. No real injuries. Don't know why he seemed to be so adamant about not staying at the scene of this wreck or why the wreck happened in the first place. Maybe there'll be other charges coming. And I'm just thankful that we can have fun with the idea of this guy plowing his pickup through gates to end up on the field in Colorado.
So I'm looking at Folsom Field, by the way, some images on Google, and the opposite end, I think, of the student section, the opposite end zone, there's like 2 pretty wide like tunnels that exit the stadium. So he definitely came through one of those.
Okay. Because like that's not like a natural thing that it's like, oh yeah, pickup trucks come in here all the time. That's not how stadiums generally work. You know? It's like, how do you get that big pickup in there? Anyway, sorry, Bogues. What else you got?
That's it.
Can we just pause on this Colorado State game for a second? So the game's obviously in Colorado State. It's like if the field being all torn up, they have a little time to get it back in order.
Yes.
If you were wondering about that. But the trash talk that has gone on between these two teams has been pretty wild. So let's, Manny, start with cut number 11. So here's Colorado State wide receiver Torrey Horton, who is referring to last year's thrilling game between these two. Double overtime, right? Was it double or triple overtime? Double? Thank you, Pat. Still with regrets from last year's game. Let's hear it, Manny.
We owed them one. And that's just something that's been sitting on everybody, mind since we came back from break. We owe them.
Okay, more. Here's the quarterback, Braden Fowler Nicolosi, who says CU was overconfident last year.
They came out with that attitude, and
thought it was going to be a cakewalk. They saw the reports, 27.5 points or whatever it was. And they got a rude awakening real quick.
Yeah, and Moore says, well, Instagram followers not going to help you when you get on the field.
I think it goes to show that the hype, the media train, all that, it only gets you so far. At the end of the day, you have to line up 11 guys against our 11 guys, and we'll find out who wants it more, and we'll see how far Instagram followers gets them.
Do you believe that? I feel like it's a pretty good time to say those things about Colorado. I feel like he's actually not going out on a big limb. Colorado just no-showed last week. I don't know. And honestly, Colorado State probably, I agree with what he said. They probably could have won that game last year. I don't know. It doesn't feel like, we were talking earlier about you shouldn't trash talk the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
By that logic, you should probably trash talk the Colorado Buffaloes, because I don't think you're awakening any giant.
Well, but here's the thing. Colorado State did lose.
Yeah.
Like there is this is what we do for a living here. It's winners and there are losers, as one of our former colleagues used to say. I don't know if I'm talking all this trash. Again, you might feel proud of yourselves that you were a massive underdog and you made it a game with double overtime, but you didn't win it. And the hype train for Colorado only grew after that game.
Right. I mean, the second soundbite was trash, the Instagram followers. The first one is we're going to get them. That's normal.
That's fine.
That's totally fine. It just feels like, come on. I mean, this is Colorado. Is there anyone? I mean, my grandmother would say you more about the follows. Yeah. It feels so obvious.
EJ, what do you want to say?
Well, I want to say, the first soundbite from Horton maybe sounded kind of okay. We owe them one. The one where he talks about they should have murdered Colorado last year. That was a little more aggressive. I feel like this would be okay if Colorado State was actually good.
Yeah, they're not good.
I don't know. It just feels like that meme with the two clowns that are fighting each other on the basketball court. That's what I feel like when I see Colorado and Colorado State trash talk. Like, these are two irrelevant, nothing programs that are going back and forth. And you guys both aren't good. I guess maybe this matters a lot in the state of Colorado, but I feel like there should be a standard for what your record has to be for when you trash talk. If you're a below 500 team, or if you lose by 50 points to Texas, Colorado State, I don't think you should be allowed to trash talk anybody.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
You should be banned from all trash talk.
It's like the 10 sports commandments. Like, if you have a losing record, you cannot engage in trash talk. And so right now the spread is Colorado favored by a touchdown. 57.5 points is the over-under. So expecting Colorado State's going to be able to move the ball on Colorado because, everybody does.
Right, except that Colorado, the one thing you can do is you can run on them.
Yep.
Will that slow down the game, though?
That's interesting. Maybe we'll include that in one of our picks later. If Deion loses this game, we're going to play a little fill in the blank a little bit later on in the show. Oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's already oh, boy. We're just a consistent oh, boy with this guy right now.
Do we have the Shiloh Sanders? Can we play that from last week? Oh boy moment. So Shiloh Sanders broke his arm. So unfortunately, he's going to be out for the next couple weeks. He's in a sling. But you are going to hear, this is actually courtesy of Nebraska. Mm-hmm. They put this in their post-game hype video. This is Shiloh Sanders at the coin flip telling Nebraska that Colorado is about to kick their butt. Yeah. Do we have a subtitles on that? Anyway, they said they're going to roll their butts. Didn't end up working out that way.
So, okay.
Also didn't say butts, by the way.
Yeah, it didn't say butts.
So you said it's bad for Deion. At what point do we stop watching? Are we already in that discussion?
We're getting there.
Interesting.
We're getting there. Although Shedeur and Travis are very fun to watch, but it kind of feels a little, let me use an NFL analogy here. It's like watching the Raiders to watch Devontae Adams. It's like, I know how Colorado might win this game, by the way. It's not like the Raiders.
Well, they are. Yeah, they're a touchdown favorite.
But I'm watching the game with a mostly mediocre team with two really good players that I'm interested in.
Well, you could argue that they have all new players. They give them time to gel, and they'll be a different team by the end of the season, except last year they got worse and worse and worse in the same situation.
They also happen to be on the last year of the true Pac-12 where you had all these great quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I mean, the Big 12 is not a joke.
I know. That's why they're going to get good just in time for everyone else to also gel and get good.
Yeah, all of a sudden you look around the Big 12 like, oh boy, I thought their schedule was going to be easier in the Big 12. There are not going to be a lot of easy weeks for Dion.
No.
You're right. That makes it more of a must-win this week.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got to win here, and it's a rivalry game, and it's on the road, and nothing is guaranteed when you can't stop the run, and you also can't get a yard on the ground. Colorado's got some issues. Coming up, scary moment last night. Tua Tagovailoa, knocked out, concussion. What does his future hold now? We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Tough night last night. Tough to watch. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Tua Tagovailoa, Pearl. Middle of the third quarter. Yet again, a concussion. You know, we didn't see it happen all of last season. I think we all thought, well, maybe Tua's really figured this out. The jiu-jitsu lessons, all the things they told us, how Tua's trying to combat the concussions that plagued his season in 2022 and were so scary. Well, now here we are, second game of the season. Tua on a 4th and 4 play, trying to make something happen after he was really just playing a terrible game, trying to turn around the fortunes of the Miami Dolphins. And he lowers his helmet right into DeMar Hamlin, of all people, and ends up getting a concussion, leaving the field, and now his future is in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, to learn how to fall properly, everything about his form was terrible. He led with his helmet. I think that maybe he'd gotten overconfident since 2022 in his ability to avoid concussions, lost weight in the offseason. This was, if he does come back, this is certainly a reminder. A, as you mentioned earlier, he has to wear that safer Guardian cap, and B, he's got to get down.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand he was actually way over the line. I understand it was a huge play, and he didn't quite know where the first down was. He was trying to get the first down, but just the way he initiated contact, he should never, ever in a million years be initiating contact.
No, I get it, but that's also in hindsight. Like, in the moment, I can't really crush Tua on this one because in the moment, he's already thrown 3 interceptions. Now, they all weren't his fault, but he's thrown 3 picks. He and the Dolphins as a team have been owned by the Bills over the last few years. That was swirling around. He just got this massive contract. I don't know about you, but I'm on social media. People are like, this is what $50 million buys you. All the memes and all the Tua turn the ball over, and all the people making fun of him. And you could tell he was trying to overcompensate. He's trying to make a play. He's trying to make something happen. With about 7 minutes left to go in the third quarter, there's still time. There is still time in a professional athlete's mind that we can turn this thing around. They did it last week. They basically stole the game from the Jags. He's trying to make a play. I think we usually, say guys are we like revere guys for doing that.
Absolutely not. And you say that we're not doing Monday morning quarterback on this. You're telling me we all knew that Tua Tagovailoa should never initiate contact. Like, nobody in a million years said Tua should show he's a tough guy. I don't think any quarterback should be initiating contact. I think I saw too much of it in week 1.
Yeah.
I thought we all criticized quarterbacks. Like, the key skill for a quarterback is, we rip them for not sliding.
Yeah.
And then, or the smart quarterbacks get out of bounds. Lamar Jackson ran too much in week 1. There is no doubt about it. He is not going to be able to keep this up. Josh Allen runs too much.
Yeah.
I mean, now that the salaries are insane for these quarterbacks, they all, this is not the day to rip to it, but you better be smart, because otherwise that money is just going down the toilet, because they're not going to last.
Yeah, I get that, like, intuitively, but in the moment when it's 4th and 4 and you're right near the goal line and you have to score and you've been bad all game, and after the game that you're going to be the guy who has to stand up and be accountable. He's not the only one who, contributed to the loss. But, he's going to wear it. And so I think he's trying to make up for it.
It wasn't just a normal, like, going for an extra yard. Like, he rammed his head into, I mean, come on. If he plays again, I bet you he's a lot more careful. Like, and if I'm the team, I'm like, if you want to play again, you have to promise. You have to promise you're going to play as safely as possible. Otherwise, the team should not let him out there.
Yeah, I mean, now what do you do next is a really big question because, first of all, we're going to get more updates. We're going to get more updates from doctors and everyone's going to weigh in and have an opinion. But the bottom line is it's not the first time it's happened. It's not the first time it's happened in a scary way where he's kind of in this fencer's position with the arm up and it's just jarring to watch. So, what do you do if you're Tua? Do you have to seriously consider retirement? He considered retirement after 2022. He said it. And he's still a young man, and I understand there's a lot of money at stake and pride and love of the game and all of that. But, I mean, we are talking about your health. You have to have the conversation. And, Ty Dunn, our friend, wrote an article about someone Perloff, Kevin Kolb. Kevin Kolb was, if you guys remember him from about, 15 years ago, Kevin Kolb was in the league?
Yep.
And he was actually supposed to be the Bills quarterback. E.J. Manuel was never supposed to start. Kevin Kolb was supposed to be the starter, and E.J. Manuel was supposed to sit behind him, but that's a little too much in Bills history. And he got a terrible concussion in the preseason, tells you where we were back then. And he did hang it up after 4 concussions. And from what you're telling me, he's gone on to have this really successful career afterwards. Like, there is life after football.
Yeah, but Kevin, and I wrote a thing about him about 8 years after, or a long time after he retired, he still has tinnitus.
Oh, really?
So he has a constant, the actual quote was, I feel like there's a shotgun going off in my ear at all times.
Oh, my gosh.
We have friends who have tinnitus too, but it's
common in our industry, but
not
he's
for
doing
the same
great.
Like, he's figured out a way to deal with it. The funny thing I remember that concussion really well. He had not played it perfectly in the preseason, and I think he actually went for this run just to secure the starting job. And he got hit, and then not far. I think he slipped on a pad running around in practice. He slipped on and had another concussion, and it was because that's the thing about concussions, and we'll talk to Chris Nowinski about it. You right after you have one, you were so vulnerable, and Kevin had never had one his whole life. It can happen like that. I'm sure Kevin would probably tell him to walk away. I'm curious. I happen to know that Kevin is on his way to Alaska right now. He likes to kill hogs with knives and basically hunt animals with his bare hand. He's crazy outdoors.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, they hunt hogs. You hunt with a long knife in Texas. And that's his jam.
I've heard about that. I thought that was made up.
No.
I thought that was just something people say.
If Kevin had his own way, he would sharpen a stick and go spear a grizzly bear.
Wait a minute, he's not worried about concussions for that?
He is just... he's the guy. He's that guy. He loves outdoor sports. Loves them. He lives for them. And he's also become a really smart businessman. We should try and track him down to find out his opinion. Because I've actually never asked him, what's your advice on other players?
Yeah.
I think sometimes players may be it's an individual decision.
Right now, though, the public, you guys weighing in on our poll on X at Maggie Pearl, should Tua Tagovailoa play football again? Resoundingly, 83% say no. And I get it. We all want people to make their own decisions and personal freedoms. And beyond that, just you make it to the NFL, you kind of also, I don't say know what you're signing up for, but we know it's dangerous, right? We know boxing's dangerous. We know MMA is dangerous. So there's just that sort of risk it carries. Who are we to tell somebody who knows the risks going in? This is not like the NFL of old where the team doctors were lying to people and telling them, no, you're fine, when they're not fine. You do understand the risks. Is it Tua's, should it just be up to him whether or not he wants to continue sort of playing this roulette with his own brain?
That is such a tough question.
I know.
I would say there's a big contract on the line, too. You're saying, I'm going to take this $150 million away from you and not even give you your own choice. That feels really tough. I feel like Tua probably does get the choice.
So according to Mike Florio, and thanks to Bogish for sending this over, Tua's contract carries more than $167 million in injury guarantees. He'll give up that money if he chooses to walk away. Nearly all of his $42 million signing bonus could also be forfeited if he affirmatively decides to retire now. Now, that's interesting because I think you and I both were under the impression that the signing bonus is his. Already. It already cashed. It already clicked. It already deposited for, or half of it at least probably deposited at this point. Florio's saying that's not true. Now, it seems maybe a little weird to talk about money over your health. Like, there's nothing more important than your health, and it's not like Tua's poor. He did have the first contract where he's a top 10 pick, which gives you $30 million guaranteed. That should be enough to live the rest of your life on.
Yeah, but still, even if it's enough to live, like, that money is gigantic. I mean, like, we talk about that. We throw around these numbers like it's no big deal. Oh, like CeeDee Lamb just signed for whatever, 140. Like, this is generational money times 10. It's a lot of money to turn away from for any human being. Even guys who are already rich, that's a lot of money.
I know, but the stakes are extremely high and getting higher by the game. If he comes back and say it is in 4 weeks, say they do put him on IR and Skylar Thompson starts, or they call up Ryan Tannehill, or as Adrian in Maryland said, trade for Trey Lance, or whatever they do. What makes us think he's not going to have another concussion? I mean, at this point, don't you have to just play the trend? Like, this is not foolproof. And we were lulled to sleep, quite frankly, because of last year he was so healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, ultimately he's going to have the choice unless the team says no. Maybe, but I don't think the Dolphins are playing for anything this year. Maybe take the season off and bring him back next year. I think that should be something that should be discussed. We'll talk to ChrisNowinski. Does a year of healing help? Does it make a difference? There's got to be time frames and models to work off of, too. That's the other thing. We don't have all the information.
That's true.
I'm not sure. We'll ask Chris. I'm not sure anyone has all the information. Head injuries are still being discovered. Like, I don't think they even know what extent the damage can be and what's the percentage that he gets out of this healthy. I hope it's a good percentage.
Yeah, 855-212-4227 if you would like to weigh in on Tua's future. And, everyone's going to have an opinion on this. We have ours. To me, not worth it. He's 26 years old, though, so I get why he wouldn't want to hang it up. But by the standards of any metric, you are rich. You have money. And if you play it right, you'll have plenty. And your family will have plenty. It's not the generational type, maybe, of $167 million, but, I mean, it's setting everyone up pretty nicely. It's given your family quite a head start. So, to me, I think I would, but I'm not in his shoes. Again, 855-212-4227. Any other takeaways from the game? I have one other takeaway, if we can just talk about the football side of this for a second.
I thought it was really interesting, they have the formula for stopping the Dolphins. I mean, Herb Street said, I think, basically Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are awesome because they can run past your safeties.
Yep.
I've always said, how many times have I said to you, why is Tyreek Hill 10 yards behind the safety? Just get them into the red zone where you can't use Tyreek Hill's speed because he's not 6'6". He's not going to out-jump guys in the end zone. So I think the Bills, smart. I'd give Sean McDermott a lot of credit. I think he won the coaching battle in a huge way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, I have my issues with Sean McDermott as because he's the head coach of the team that I root for. So I'm watching him very closely. Two things. They've been a lot more aggressive, the Bills have, in the red zone. They've changed their philosophy. He used to always be the kick the field goal guy. And he's definitely changed on that. And I think because they realize that their defense has a lot of growing to do. And McDermott is really good about getting the most out of backups. And that's what a lot of those guys are. They're either new guys, they're backups. The pass rush was good 2 games in a row, which has been nice. The other takeaway that I have here from the Bills side of things, not just the James Cook scoring 3 touchdowns, so that's a big night for him, but the fact that Josh Allen didn't have to do a lot, by his standards, gives some extra time for his other hand to heal. You saw on the broadcast he's wearing that glove, and they said this is not a receiver glove. This is a thicker glove because his hand got hurt in the first game. So this was a Thursday night game. They don't play again till Monday night next week. So a couple extra days for that hand to heal.
How about another linebacker injury, Bernard?
Yeah.
He's
the middle linebacker, the guy with the dot on the back of his helmet, taking the communications from the sideline.
Yeah, and the Dolphins ran well.
Oh, everyone will run well on the Bills.
Yeah, so I was wondering, is that a bit of a panic situation?
I think what they've been able to do so far is they've been lucky that they're getting opponents a lot in 3rd and long. And so they're able to kind of unleash the pass rush a little bit. They got to Kyler last week, and they were able to get to Tua last night.
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit.
Listen, can they hold off the Patriots in the AFC East? That is the question we have now. Because there's a chance their competition in that division is falling off once again, and once again they win the division. No drama here. Let's see them play the Chiefs in the postseason. That's where I honestly am.
You can't write off the Jets yet. You don't have enough evidence to write off the Jets.
I have, let's see, what year was Namath? I have 42 years. Wait, how much more? Do I need another 20?
I'm still
I have a
holding
butt
out
fumble.
hope.
I have a fake spike. I have enough evidence that we could sit here for 7 hours and talk about it.
He's a bum.
I'm still waiting. I need to see a little more. 855-212-4227. You can go on X. You can answer our poll question. Should Tua play football again? 855-212-4227. Coming up, Chris Nowinski. He is the CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. He is an expert in this area. We will get his thoughts on Tua next.
All right, football season is here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while watching football. Season-long fantasy takes so much time, and my team is already in a bad place. But on Prize Picks, you can pick a new lineup every day.
Perloff and I, this has become the thing we find most important about our lives and the show. Who can one-up each other on Prize Picks? The app is really simple to use. You pick 2 or more players across any sport. Then you just pick more or less on their projection, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Not only that, on Prize Picks, you can still cash out even if the lineup isn't perfect, and all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Not only that, Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app with injury insurance. If one of your players goes down in the first half, Prize Picks doesn't count it as a loss.
You know, I can't pronounce the Arizona wide receiver's name, but I'm definitely going more on him. That's just some of the many ways Prize Picks puts its members first. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code MNP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Last night, Tua Tagovailoa suffers a concussion on the field. It was beyond scary. It's gut-wrenching to watch him again in that fencer's pose. No doubt concussion. We're going to get to ChrisNowinski in just 1 second, but I want to play a clip for you of Manti Te'o, who is friends with Tua, childhood friends, Pearl. He was on Good Morning Football this morning, getting very emotional about watching Tua last night.
After he suffered the one against the Bengals, I wanted him to walk. That when I saw him have to be carted off the field,
yeah,
I wanted him to walk. Like that was
Yep.
That was hard, bro.
Yeah.
Like what people have to understand is this is just a game, you know, and then there's life. And when you watch a young man that you've known since you was a little boy go out there, you know, yeah, is it hard for me? Yeah, but I can't imagine how it is for Uncle Nalu and Auntie Diane to watch their son again go down.
That was Manti Te'o on Good Morning Football this morning, friends with Tua Tagovailoa. Let's welcome in Chris Nowinski. He's the CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, the founding CEO, I should mention. He's a neuroscientist. He has dedicated his life to studying the brain, concussion, CTE. He was a former football player at Harvard. He was a professional wrestler in the WWE. Chris, good morning. Thanks so much for doing this. And I'm sure your phone was ringing off the hook because you are the foremost expert here. First of all, how are you and how were you watching that game last night?
Well, thanks for having me, Maggie. I'm doing well. I wasn't able to watch it. I was on a plane leaving a conference on CTE to go give a concussion training talk in Texas this morning. So I saw it happen on social. My phone blew up, and I saw the videos and was very sad about what I saw Tua go through.
Chris, this has happened now. They're saying 3 documented concussions. I mean, I think we all know it's actually 4. Mm-hmm. That Matt Milano hit from last year where they said it was a back injury was laughable. 4 concussions here. What happens to your brain after 4 concussions like the ones that Tua's had?
Yes, I mean, study after study will consistently show the more concussions you have, the greater risk you have for cognitive impairment later in life. There's even now studies showing it changes your cardiovascular system, so you have a higher risk of high blood pressure and metabolic changes. But the problem is none of it's prescriptive, right? So there's lots of players, we meet them all the time, that had 4 concussions, 8 concussions, 10 concussions. Some of them are okay, but a lot of them are not. And it also opens up the door for mental health problems. Each new concussion increases the odds that you will develop a new onset depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. So, it's good that we're having this conversation because he's starting to get into a place where I think none of us would be surprised if some new symptoms like this came on, but none of it is also going to tell him what he should do. Unfortunately, the problem with concussions is that when he goes and gets a scan, everything's going to look okay because it's soft tissue damage that we can't image. And so I feel for, our instinct is, gosh, it's so ugly watching him get knocked unconscious for another time, and to realize that when he's doing that fencing posture, his brain stem is involved, his cerebellum is involved, these deep parts of the brain that aren't usually impacted by concussion, meaning this was a huge hit. And the idea that now we've seen him go through that twice, you feel great sympathy. But he wakes up today and he's got to decide whether or not he's going to, continue with his life's passion. And, I just feel for him in that situation.
Chris, a lot of people are asking, why isn't Tua wearing a Guardian cap? How do you view the Guardian cap? I read that 5 players wore it last week. Should it be used more around the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, you can't mandate it at this point because, while the NFL has said it helped reduce concussions, they have not published that research yet. And so we can't be sure that it's the Guardian cap that actually reduced concussions or whether players started playing differently because they look at each other with these giant caps on so they have fewer hits, or whether they're practicing differently because they continue to make practices less violent because they're realizing what's happening. So Guardian cap's not going to fix this problem, especially the kind of hit that he took. You saw how violently his head moved. His head was going to move no matter what was on there. And it could have been worse in theory with an extra pound or 14-ounce Guardian cap on top of it. So we have to think beyond Guardian caps. I mean, honestly, equipment's not going to save us from this. It is prevention. It is fewer hits. And so that, from a tactical perspective, everyone's focusing the conversation on should he have slid and avoided the hit. And the reality is, that was probably his best opportunity to avoid the concussion was changing how he played.
Chris Nowinski is joining us. He's the founding CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. He's a neuroscientist. He's dedicated his life to this. What you guys do with the Concussion Legacy Foundation, Chris, is amazing. And there is a CLF helpline. If you or someone you know is dealing with the effects of a concussion or you think so, you can go to concussionfoundation.org and you can find a lot of information there and people who will help you. Chris, we sit here this morning and we talk about Tua and we talk about the 4 concussions, and then we can't help but bring up, but what about the money? How do you walk away from $100 million, $150 million guaranteed? Like, when people say that to you, what's your response to them?
Yeah, well, my response is that you only get one brain. And, yesterday I actually spent the day with 10 family members of people who died with CT, almost all football players. They died between 25 and 75. And every family member cried while they told the story of watching their loved one deteriorate over time and how they didn't understand what was going on. They wished they were nicer to and more understanding, but they also felt helpless watching them die of alcoholism, watching them die of drug abuse, watching them die of suicide. And so, there's no amount of money that can replace that. And your family, when you talk to these families and the children of these people, they don't care about the money. They just wish dad was there. They just wish their husband was there. And so you have to be able to walk away from that amount of money. But on the flip side, there's no medical choice here. There's nothing you can look at and say you have to retire. And so I'm sure he feels the weight of the world on his shoulders to fulfill the expectations of the team and the fans. And so it's just going to be a hard couple weeks of soul searching while he hopefully sits out in multiple games.
Chris, Tua's 26. If he had the thought maybe in 20 years there'll be a treatment for CTE, is there a possible medical or technology out down the road?
Oh God, I hope so. We just started a study in May called Bank CTE, where we're looking for biomarkers of CTE, basically, so we can measure the impact of drugs that reduce basically the amount of brain proteins floating in your blood. So yes, there is hope for that, but we're not even talking about really CT with Tua's situation. These concussions are causing permanent changes to your brain in some situations, like white matter damage and all these lesions that sort of change how your brain functions. There's a lot more to brain head impacts than CTE that can be causing these symptoms. So even if we cured CTE, doesn't mean we're going to cure whatever long-term symptoms he might develop.
Chris Nowinski is the founding CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Chris, we're talking about Tua today, but obviously a lot of people listening to us, it's Friday. You're going to be Friday Night Football, a lot of high school, college coming up this weekend. When you talk to parents of high school football players, what do you try to get across?
Yeah, I mean, last week I was in the media talking about all the high school football players who've died on the field already this year, at least 3 from traumatic brain injuries. I mean, yeah, you tell parents who are playing, one of the most important things once they already have chosen to play and they're in games is that you have to teach them how to recognize concussions in themselves and especially in their teammates and speak up. A lot of these deaths are caused by people playing through concussions, trying to live up to the expectations on themselves or their teammates, and 2 hits in a row in a week, or getting another hit before your concussion is recovered can kill you. And so that is a very important message. And then I also say, look, we want to reduce CTE long term. Start talking to your coach about putting in a CT prevention protocol next to their concussion protocol that leads with reinventing practice so we don't get so many hits to the head and so many additional concussions and so much additional risk for CTE.
So many great things you guys are doing at the Concussion Legacy Foundation. You've been at this work for a long time, trying to change people's approach to contact sports. And again, concussionfoundation.org is where you can find the CLF helpline. Something to just keep in mind as we are watching high school, college football for parents, guardians, friends, anything out there. Chris, a final thing for me. What do you think of the dynamic kickoff rules now in the NFL? It was kind of billed as like, not only is this going to be obviously more exciting, but a safer solution. Do you agree with that?
Agree 100%. As someone who was on too many kickoffs growing up, I mean, the 40-yard sprint into a huge collision is on paper the most dangerous play in football. And so by eliminating that 40-yard sprint and starting everyone 5 yards apart, almost like a punt, like you can show in the sensor data, minimizes the number of huge hits, but still allows the return. So I'm thrilled to see that the NFL has adopted what the XFL invented and has put it in place and shown the rest of the world the kickoff is something to focus on. We worked with a conference in New York, Riverdale and the Metropolitan Independent Football League to just get rid of the kickoff in high school altogether because, all the ex-college players who are coaching were just like, why are we putting kids through this? It's such a dangerous play relative to everything else we're trying to do in football.
Chris, anything else you guys are doing with the Concussion Legacy Foundation now you want to tell people about?
Well, I do. Thank you for plugging the helpline. It's also for people who are worried about suspected CT. And then if you want to help us figure out these solutions to these problems long term, go to the website, concussionfoundation.org, and sign up for our research registry. We are recruiting for multiple studies that are trying to figure out these long-term effects and trying to figure out interventions for all us old football players who might need something down the line.
Chris, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for being available. Thanks for lending your expertise. We always appreciate it.
Always love talking to you guys. Take care.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Chris Nowinski is the founding CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Great guy. Dedicated his life to this because he was suffering from concussion syndrome.
Yeah. One takeaway from that is Chris said that a guardian cap would not have prevented the damage there because of the way his head moved.
Yep.
And it's actually extra weight. Like, I kind of maybe convinced myself, maybe the guardian caps are going to make this go away. And it's very clear that is not the case.
Well, I don't even convince yourself. The NFL's telling you this is safer, yet, as Chris said, there's no published study.
That's true.
They're just saying it.
Well, yeah, I mean, intuitively, for some reason, because it's bigger and it's built differently, I believe that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I mean, it can't be less safe than we've seen helmet evolution through the years of what they used to play with was clearly dangerous. So I think that is a place where technology could help. But I think Chris was saying, don't get overconfident in your helmet because then you'll play more recklessly.
Yeah.
So he
said there's no equipment that could help this. It's how you play, right?
Yeah, but he did say people should wear guardian caps.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We had 5 guys last week. I think I was looking up guardian caps, and Christian McCaffrey's picture kept coming up. He hasn't played yet, so we'll see what he does. But a guy like that, who takes all the pounding, why wouldn't you at least try it? Like, what is the downside? I would do anything to protect my brain.
Andrew Bogish is here with headlines for us. Good morning, Bogues.
Guys, good morning. It's the only place to begin this morning, and that is last night in Miami. A bad night to begin with for the Dolphins, getting blown out at home on national TV by a divisional rival, partly because your highly paid QB was picked off 3 times. If only it ended there for the Finns.
Tua out of the shotgun, back to throw, looking, pressure. He's going to run with it at the 8-yard line. Got it. Puts his head down and gets bounced down at the 6, and he looks dinged, Joe.
Oh, boy. Jimmy had to run. He wasn't sure, so instead of sliding once he got there, he picked up a couple extra yards. It's a great effort, but boy, this is not good.
No, it's not.
They knew right away on Dolphins radio. The players on the field knew right away, too, that Tua Tagovailoa was in trouble after a collision with Bills safety Damar Hamlin late in the third quarter last night. It's Tua's third confirmed concussion, but likely the fourth he has suffered as a pro. Skylar Thompson finished the 31-10 loss to the Bills.
In my position, you never want to have your opportunity come with something like that, and have a lot of love for Tua.
We are expecting fresh comments this morning from Miami head coach Mike McDaniel, who obviously would not commit to any kind of timetable last night for Tua's recovery and return to the field. In the very short term, they do have the loosely used extra benefit of playing Thursday night, so there's more time between now and their next game to make any kind of decision on what Tua's status is.
I mean, the fact, though, we go back to 2022, he gets hit by Matt Milano in the Bills game. He clearly looks like he's suffered a head injury because he gets up and then stumbles and falls. They say it's a back issue. They let him back into the game. Everyone feels weird about it, right? Then the next week he goes to Cincinnati, gets hit, and he's carted off the field. I think you have, EJ. I think you have to keep that in mind this time, right? Like, if he plays next week, could the same thing have happened where it's like you get these back-to-back weeks of just terrible outcomes?
Oh, absolutely. I actually have more questions for Chris. Like, what is time? How much time do you need off? I have no idea.
That's the problem, right? Like,
he just said you can have an X-ray and it's not going to show like what you think, right? It's not going to show like obvious damage.
When you break your leg is broken instantly. We can see it, and then or you tear your ACL. Like, those things happen right away, and then we know, like, okay, it should be 6 months, it should be 8 weeks. This is a complete and utter question mark. You might feel fine today, and then crappy 2 days from now, and you might feel great after 3 weeks off, and then you start to run and you're nauseous again. Like, there's no easy, normal path to full health here, which only complicates. It's one thing to the severity of, like, long-term brain injuries, but then diagnosing and treating and knowing that you're over it is almost an impossibility, too.
Oh, that's
I know.
so
This
sad.
is why I think he's got to be seriously contemplating retirement.
How about if we sort of split it and he sat out the rest of the year and came back next year? Would that make him say? I'm asking you guys, like, if there's any data on this, but that, I think I would consider that if I was Tua, because I feel like a year is a lot better than 4 weeks.
I know, but we just saw him basically not get a concussion for a year. And then last night he gets this terrible concussion. It's like, I just would think that, not to be a cynic, but are you just waiting for the next
But he
concussion?
didn't play like this he did not make a single move like that last year. I would almost guarantee you he was not initiating contact with his helmet. Feel like he got, I don't know. I didn't like him losing that weight. We both said that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. He was not playing like he was taking every precaution. I think that maybe he got comfortable with the way and just like his body's like, I want to play ball the way I know how to play ball. The truth is he'll never be able to do that. He cannot do this. He can't run like that.
Well, whether or not he took a similar hit last year, he certainly took hits last year. And he got up from them.
You're right. I don't remember, but I assume he slid a lot last year.
Yeah, but even like standing in the pocket, he had to have gotten smoked multiple times last year.
Yeah.
And he got up from them. And I remember when this debate was going on, and this could be a completely wrong memory. But I do recollect at one point the thought was one concussion doesn't necessarily lead to another. That's not the thought anymore.
No.
The thought is now, once you have one, you're more susceptible to one at any point down the road.
That is common knowledge now. You're right. Yeah. I remember what you're talking about, but that is so obvious right now.
Yeah, and what concerns me is, like, I didn't think last night's hit was that vicious. Like, I understand the contact and his head and his neck moves, but, like,
no, I agree.
Like, it wasn't a hit that if you just saw, you wouldn't like, oh, that's going to hurt. And
the Jordan Poyer on Khalil Shakir, I thought was a big one. He comes in, leads with the head. He ended up getting a 15-yard penalty on it. I mean, he just crunched Shakir in the side of the head.
Also, DeMar Hamlin is a very light player. He didn't run it. DeMar Hamlin weighs as much as Maggie. I mean, it's not like a big guy you ran into either. You're right. It's like most players would be able to do that hit and not feel anything.
Get up. Right.
Yeah.
The Bills, meanwhile, they are 2-0 and have won 14 of the last 16 in this head-to-head. Running back James Cook scored 3 times last night, but they do have their own major injury concern in Buffalo. Starting linebacker Terrell Bernard left early last night with a pectoral injury. We learned a lot about Shannon Sharpe and his Michelle this week. TMZ says ESPN will not punish Sharpe for accidentally putting a noisy romantic encounter on Instagram Live on Wednesday. Sharpe expected back on First Take on Monday.
See, Paul Pierce was acting up
on Instagram Live a couple years ago.
Yes, and then Paul Pierce made a story basically saying this is, calling ESPN hypocrites for punishing Shannon Sharpe or not punishing Shannon Sharpe and basically firing him.
Okay, but Paul Pierce was not claiming that he didn't know he was on Instagram. He was talking into the camera, responding to people's comments, but he also wasn't having sex. He was just there were some he was playing poker, I think, and drinking, and
prostitutes were there.
I think
or escorts.
Something. Ladies.
Yeah.
We don't know if money changed hands, right?
What?
We don't know that money changed hands.
And I think they were fully clothed, right?
Yes, I don't think they were naked, and he was stoned, but
it's certainly not apples to apples comparison between the two incidents.
Yeah, I mean, if Shannon Sharpe's telling the truth, now our pal Boomer Esiason down the hall, he thinks that this was a publicity stunt for Shannon.
I do too.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Because it's hard to kind of accidentally go live on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've opened Instagram by accident, but I've never gone on Instagram live by accident.
I don't think I've ever gone live on Instagram, and you probably have to.
It's multiple
you
buttons.
Probably have to tap 2 or 3 things to confirm you want to go live.
All right. So you open Instagram. Here we are.
Oh,
so that's one finger stroke is opening up the app.
Then I had to get to my homepage.
I know.
Easy with the strokes.
Okay, then I've got to, so I open Instagram, then I've got to go to the little circle with the plus thing on it.
2.
Yep, it's 2 strokes.
That's 2. Then I've got to select live.
It's 3.
Then I've got to hit the button, which I'm not going to do now.
So that's 4.
So 4 strokes.
4 things. Yeah.
Sorry, I opened my phone and got held up on my Prize Picks loss from last night. But please,
I told you we are obsessed with this thing. You guys think we're joking around. We're not.
I hadn't really thought about it.
What does that do for him?
It makes him go viral for a couple days, and he gains probably a couple thousand followers off it.
A couple thousand followers. He's got like millions.
All right. Well, hey, at what point do you stop trying? Warren Buffett's got $1 billion. Do you think he says, I don't need any more money? No, that guy's going to keep getting richer and richer.
But how many Instagram followers does Warren Buffett have?
And how many times has he been caught having sex on Instagram Live?
That would be interesting.
There's no negatives for Shannon Sharpe here. Unless he were to get reprimanded by ESPN, there was absolutely 0 negatives for him unless he were to put on an abysmal performance in the bed.
Wait, hold on. He's breathing pretty heavy. But what if he's trying to get fired? What if he was trying to go Costanza on this? He's like, Paul Pierce got fired. I'll just go maybe he wants out. He's like, I don't want to do First Take. I've got enough money and enough jobs.
Nah, I don't buy that one.
What would an abysmal performance sound like? I'm just curious.
Like sad trombones.
Or giggling.
Like womp, womp.
Yeah, her saying, is that it?
No, I mean, if he was a couple strokes and then see ya.
Well, I was a cute cart girl at a golf course in high school.
4 minutes of him trying to get the condom out of the package on Instagram Live.
And
it's
she's
just
like,
not ripping.
forget it.
It just won't rip. I don't. Yeah.
Forget it. I'm going to TJ Maxx.
Shows the level of class we got here.
She's actually scrolling, sees the Instagram Live open. She's like, I'm actually multitasking. That's how bored I am.
Big shout out to all the women backing up the fellas.
That has to be, you got to be really struggling if the girl is going on Instagram Live while you're in the middle of
it. No, she's online shopping. Bogish, thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Do you think it's a setup?
The phone does move in the middle of it. Like it looks, the phone,
But not for a different angle.
No, but like it does certainly like shift position, as if they picked it up to see what was going on.
Oh, like tap tap tap. Is this thing on?
Yeah,
that thing.
Or it could just been the motion of the ocean moving.
How about this? Please, no copycats. Like it worked for Shannon. Don't need Chad Ochocinco doing this. Don't need every analyst now trying to do this.
She's talking directly to you, Pat.
Yeah.
Oh,
boy. I thought she was talking about Antonio Brown or somebody, but
Oh,
Pat
God.
too.
All of you. No, remember Antonio Brown? We already got that.
I assume
last
we
year.
did. Yeah.
Okay. Coming up, something very extremely important. Perloff and I making picks next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff's NFL picks.
All right, let's get serious. No more joking around, guys.
Oh,
5
boy.
picks. This is how we do it. 1 over-under, 1 against the spread, 1 player prop for the NFL, and then 1 over-under and 1 spread pick for college. So 5 picks total. Perloff, you've got the floor. Where do you want to start?
Can we start NFL and do college last?
Sure, go ahead. We just don't have a lot of time, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm doing Philly, Atlanta under 47.5.
Oh, you took going to Monday night.
Yes. Then I got Dallas -6 is the last I saw it. It's been floating around from 6.5 to 6.
Yep, you're still at 6.
Okay. And then for my prop, I'm going Cooper Kupp over 7.5 receptions because there is no one else on the Rams. If it's Cooper Kupp or bust.
Yeah,
So that's my NFL. Should I go all the way through?
No, stick with NFL,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about college for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so for NFL for me, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans, and I'm going to lay the 6.5 against Chicago. Nick Kostos joined us earlier mentioning about the wide receivers who are banged up for Chicago. Even if Caleb Williams plays better, Houston is just a much better team than the Bears, in my opinion. This is Houston at home. It's Sunday night, so the standalone game. And I think D'Amico Ryan's a better coach than Matt Eberflus. All the things would point me in the direction of Houston.
Oh, yeah.
-6.5. Except for the Tank Dell illness, which I'm keeping an eye on. My over-under. It's a low number, but I'm still going to take it, which is Indianapolis at Green Bay. So Malik Willis going to be starting for Green Bay. What are we getting? I have no idea.
None.
No clue what we're getting here. Is he going to run for like 120 yards or is he going to pass? Quite frankly, I don't know. And Anthony Richardson, to me, even though they got a score into the 20s, I believe they scored 24 points last week against Houston. Anthony Richardson, to me, is so fun, Pearl, but he's so boomer bust that I don't know if I see this getting to 40.5. So I'm going to take the under. And then my player prop, I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco, 64.5 rushing yards. Get a little action on this big game at Kansas City. I just think Kansas City is in midseason form, and Cincinnati is clearly still in preseason form. And if history tells you anything, that's going to continue into week 2, where Cincinnati is still finding their footing, whereas Chiefs are out of the gate. Looked great. So give me Pacheco, the 64.5 rushing yards. I'll take the over.
Yep.
Okay, go to college.
Okay. Pat, close your ears. Are you closed? Pat Boyle, who is on the other side of the glass, a big Notre Dame fan. I think that Notre Dame loss was a fluke. I heard our buddy Aaron Taylor, former Notre Dame offensive lineman, say that sometimes after you win a big opener like they did over Texas A&M, you just are totally let down for your next game. So that was a fluke against Northern Illinois, and the spread should be bigger against Purdue. I'm taking Notre Dame -9.5. Okay, my over-under, and I don't get this number, so it scares me to death. Florida State Memphis is at 53.5. How and Florida State is favored by a touchdown. How is DJU going to get to that number?
I have no idea.
So I'll go under on Florida State Memphis. I also kind of like Memphis at 7 points. Like, that's a team where I got to see something.
Yeah, this is a big game for Florida State. I mean, the season's basically over, but you got to salvage a little pride here. For my college picks, I'm going to go against our pal Nick Kostos on this one. I'm going to take Oregon State plus the 16.5. This was good to me last week when I took Boise in the points. Looks like Oregon's still figuring things out, and Oregon State has kind of a similar formula. Jam Griffin and Anthony Hankerson, 2 great running backs, which is exactly what tripped up almost tripped up Oregon with Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. So I'm going to take Oregon State plus the 16.5, and I'm going to take BC and Mizzou. I'll take the over 54. We know Mizzou can score. They've got a great offense. They're a great team this year. But BC with Thomas Castellanos, they've got a good offense. Bill O'Brien knows how to coach offense. So I think there is going to be some points scored. Mizzou sent like 5 guys to the NFL on defense last year. I know they have pitched 2 shutouts in the first 2 games, but they actually lost some talent on defense too. So there you go.
Yes!
And those are the picks for week 2 and week 3, respectively. And we'll tweet them out as well.
Yeah, and by the way, I just feel like I feel like you're hot right now, Maggie. I might take some of your advice. If you don't mind.
No. No.
Listen, I'm a little cold in Prize Picks, but this weekend I'm going to get so hot. WNBA, bring it on. Arizona receiver, Tesha McMillan.
Nailed it. Pat Boyle, thank you. Manny Rodriguez, thank you. EJ Stewart, thank you. Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Weedos, Coffee Drinkers. Have a great weekend, everybody.